What is up, everybody? I have a friend with me now, Rooted. Rooted
Oh, you lost the
over
coin
here.
flip.
I always mess this up, and also because normally when we're on the podcast, Hawk is to this side, and so I always have to like turn this way, and then I just mess myself up. It's
Oh
a
no.
it's a new series. If you were here for the previous coverage of TFT versus Doing Tony Top, thank you for hanging out with us over here. If you do want to see an interview that Summer and Ravish are running with one of the winners on DTT, that will be available on YouTube at some point. But that is not on the stream. And on this stream, Rude, we have another series on our hands. The losers matchup over there in Group B, Zenigma versus Mirage.
Yes, so if you're not familiar with the GSL format, this is the lower bracket after week one. Another best of three between these two teams. The loser goes home, the winner goes on to play the team that just won, and I've already forgotten
They play
the
TFT.
that just lost. Correct, thank you. So they're going to be ready, obviously off the back of a 2-1, a little bit motivated. But obviously, we've got Mirage versus Enigma this game. And these two teams, we've both come into this with players that we do know, players that we're not so familiar with. But there's a lot of hype around this series, obviously, with the tension that it builds.
Yeah, I don't think neither of us were expecting to be on this series to be casting
That's
it
true.
today. We
I
both kind of
just
just
got
hopped in.
finished. Yeah.
But you were doing CBLOL, right? And
I've
now you're just
produced
over
5 games
here.
of CBLOL today,
Oh my
yes.
goodness. So it's a pack day for you, pack day for all of us, I guess. I have some NACL
Anything
to
for
watch after
NACL.
this. Yeah, hell yeah. But basically what we do know is that the loser of this series will be going home. And in terms of players that we do know on these teams, Zenigma has Dunks, of course, who was subbing on Jake's Kittens a little bit over the summer. They also have Cocoa Puffs, who is a pretty popular streamer, was in the chat a little bit earlier. And on the other side for Mirage Root, a little bit some additional well-known names. Although I do believe they are playing with a sub down in the bot lane
Oh, okay. Well, that's good for them, I suppose. Um, okay, we have rosters. This is pretty good. I mean, initially for Mirage, right? Beric, Ariandel, and Pocus are going to be the names that jump out to you if you followed the AM scene for a wee while now. Beric, formerly of UCI, Ariandel, formerly of Supernova. I think Crazy Goose actually had a stint in CLOL and made like a little name for themselves, or were they on the wildcard
They were
roster
on
actually?
Wildcard. Yeah, Crazy Goose was a
Yes,
Wildcard sub last year.
and impressed significantly on that wildcard roster.
Mhm. Yes. The other name that you might not know here is Hyph on Mirage. But, Rude, we have done a little bit of research.
Mm.
We came in with about 2 minutes of prep for the series, and
that
basically our
that 2
job
minutes
was
went on Hive.
to decide who, figure out who is on either of these teams. And we did realize here that Hyph is actually that was actually the jungler on Converse University, that CLOL team that made it all the way to the top four. The reason we didn't realize this before is because he went under a different name, Coach Jad. So either Leakpedia is griefing us and we're just giving out fake news right now, or this is actually true and Hype is the jungler for Mirage. Who, we hype up Scary Jare, we hype up Radar and Rox, who's currently playing for TSM or was playing for TSM for about a week or so. This is another one of those players that made a pretty deep run in CLO.
And also was one of the OG. This is from a heart of amateur standpoint, right? Coming from UPL, playing for the Zenigma organization that they're now
Right.
playing against. So there's actually, like, weirdly a lot of history already in this best of three series. But the draft's already underway, Grapes. Maokai B1 is as expected as I would like this. Ash is still open. That's my other power pick to opt into. Wouldn't be surprised to see that taken for Pocus down on that bot side. But outside of that, the draft is their oyster right now. I'm not too sure about this Vi pick. I think they could have snatched up Ash Varus, saved Vi for 3, but to each their own.
That is true. The only full game I like watched in the open qualifier of Zenigma was their round one game against Super Sunshine Fruit Basket Wolves, and in that, Aizo was on the other team, and so right now I'm just in my head. I think Zenigma, or like Maokai's in the game, but in the top lane, but that's the team that they were playing
Uh,
against. So I'm expecting that there will be a jungle Maokai this time around. The Kai'Sa Nautilus response is something that we've seen more and more
mm,
recently. I know that Taki over on Native has been locking that in for their bot lane relatively
yeah.
often. We also saw it in the LCS yesterday with Prince and Winsome having a pretty phenomenal game against 100 Thieves with this pick. So a bit of a deviation from that bot lane meta. I know that on Challenger stream they were talking about how Zeri Lulu versus Lucianami is getting a little bit tiring and repetitive. It looks like we're not going to see that this time around.
No, we're not ready. really. We're not here for that meta stuff. We're quite
It's
happy
all
to
over.
throw hands and opt into some less conventional bot lane 2v2s. Now, these obviously aren't the wow off the wall picks that we've potentially come to imagine from some LCK support, no names. But Varus Heimerdinger down on that bot side still do the same thing that they did last patch. They press, they push, and they have a really dominant level 1 through 3. And for Enigma, this bot lane enthralled Cerulean, they are going to struggle if they can't find that initial engage. The power of the 2v2 for them is an all in. If they don't find a kill in the all in, they're going to get poked down, whittled away at, and the HP bars aren't going to be too threatening. And with a jungler like Vi, dives can come through very easily. There's a lot of mobility for this champion, so getting in, out after your CC and quick burst is definitely possible. So there's a very fine line that we need to see played by this Enigma bot lane.
Yep. And while we do look at this roster and we see names like Coco and Dunks, Enthralled and Cerulean also really impressed me in the open qualifier. They had some really sick plays. Cerulean, I believe, is 17 years old as well. So just a new prospect down there in the bottom lane. And overall, I think when I was looking at this matchup potentially between these two teams, I saw the bot lane Enthralled versus Crazy Goose, or versus it was Good Boy at that point. But I thought maybe Enthralled would have been able to, put up a bit of a fight. The Kaizen Nautilus is a bit aggressive. You are going to get poked at rather heavily, as you were saying. But if you can get through that laning phase, hit level 6, or just find
Mm.
like a lone hook onto somebody in the laning phase, if you are Cerulean, that could be a pretty interesting angle.
Of course, second round of bans opted to come through. We've got solo lane Royale to come in now. Bot lanes and jungles got picked early doors. Solo lane option for Beric is the Cassante. Instant tanking that top side, simulating this front to back strategy from Mirage. And they've got the counter pick in the mid lane for Ariandel, a player who was touted for their ability to play supportive on Supernova, had a very hyped up jungler in Acta, was playing very facilitatory in the mid lane. So getting a good matchup for him to be able to roam around the map, help out this aggressive bot lane is going to be crucial for them. The
This
Ari
is
locks in response. It's a nice blind pick, nice and safe, let's say.
Oh yeah, we got some Cocoa Puffs Aurelia. This is a specialty of this player. Played it, I think, a lot on stream. I feel like it's also just kind of a staple. It's in general and competitive as well. Cocoa Puffs likes playing these bruisers up in the top lane. Will be pretty solid against this Cassante, at least in the early levels. I don't know exactly how the matchup goes later on once the all out becomes a factor. But we'll see what the round out of this composition is. And because Ariandel is in the game, it means that a Galio will be locked in on R5.
You put the narrative pin up, and then Ariandel just walks right into it, takes it, and is like, "Oh, there we go. That's what I'm supposed to do this game." Galio is quintessential Ariandel. It feels like it's a great matchup as well into the Ari. You can kind of match the push between Winds of War and Orb of Deception early on. They scale largely the same with levels, so it's not the end of the world. And you've got that magic damage shield to absorb the low base damages of Ari early on, so you can get the push, get the roam, and like I say, pair up quite nicely with Hive. It's going to do quite nicely if we get to see a mid jungle 2 versus 2 as well. They've got that split damage profile between magic and physical damage that the Vine Galio offer you, whereas Enigma are opting into pure magic damage. So if we're looking at that isolated area of the map specifically, give a slight edge over to Mirage.
The Galio always throws in a bit of a wild card. It's been popping up in North America every once in
Mm-hmm.
a while in the meta. Always is a pretty interesting pickup. Vi alongside that Galio is always pretty interesting. We have a couple of minutes to vamp as we are waiting to get this game onto the Rift. Hopefully not as many delays as we have seen in all of the other series that have happened today. I think that literally every series except for this one, knock on wood right now, has had a couple of issues
Oh,
just in
good.
terms of getting into the game. That is why that the Challenger stream got delayed a little bit. Godel Gamers had to FF game number 1 of their series, and I believe over on Alk Battery stream, there is some mix-ups with the way that Conviction is getting into TR as well. So
A whole
we
lot
might
of
we might be the
mayhem.
lone survivors here today, really.
We'll make it through. We'll make it through regardless. 3 games, 2 games, it doesn't matter what we end up with. It's going to be, pure action. And Migos are going to be here to guide you through it all regardless, putting on that entertaining front face for you. So hopefully we get to see some good old fashioned scrapping through the early stages of this game. We've got 2 powerhouses, I'll say, on either end of the rift with your mid jungle duo of Mirage versus that bot lane pressure that we get from a Kaiser Nautilus. Surely somewhere in the early stages, Grapes, we should get some action.
You say that, and then sometimes it just doesn't happen.
And then we snooze.
I feel like overall, like when I think of this Mirage team, I think of players that would like to kind of play into the late game a little bit. Maybe Ariandel's a little bit different when it just comes down to playing Galio and stuff like that. But we saw this team
Mm.
in the open qualifier. Barrack had that pentakill at like 50 minutes into the game on Gangplank. Hyphe on Converse. Just like was known for maybe scaling a little bit later and just letting Scary Jerry take over the game as well. And Good Boy, who was on this team, now I guess is being subbed out for Crazy Goose today. I feel like also kind of has that sort of style. We have a couple of minutes before we get into draft. Get into game. K-Tad, I was wondering if we could get that bracket of groups A and B up on the stream just so we can kind of see what the rest of the groups are looking like today. If you don't have
Shout
it,
out Kate Tad,
no
by the way.
problem. Yeah, shout out to K-Tad. We got him in here with all these resources just like 48 hours ago or so. So um, if it's not possible, that's all right. But
It is
basically,
what it is.
the winner, um, they would be they would be in the package that was sent to you, I believe. Um, there's just a bunch of different things in there. Anyway, there is a lot of cool stuff in that
What
case.
you're
But
saying is that you love the Mirage squad from a base, and now that all these pieces are starting to come together, and we can expect to see some fireworks, right? You talked about the Pentakill on one side. Ariandel's early games tend to be fairly strong, and I think that this game again sort of aligns with that. The fact that we've seen the Galio take precedence. I am excited to see Crazy Goose again. If you guys don't remember, I think he had a breakout split last split, so summer 2022, subbed in on for the wildcard roster. I think got pulled up due to some promotions that happened through PG Worlds, etc. All that sort of shift up. Crazy Goose did have a very strong performance and was the standout for one of the wildcard rosters that made it to PG, if memory serves correctly. So again, a fairly new AD carry to the space, but certainly one that I've got a lot of expectations for, at least hopes for, that they're going to be a bit of a figure to stay around. I think that supported by Pocus down on that bot side, who has been a part of the amateur space now for a good time at least, he's going to be a lot more familiar with how these League of Legends games are played. Whenever you go into a new ecosystem, it can be a little bit difficult, right? If you're going from just pure solo queue into a competitive environment, you need to relearn how to play the game at that level.
yeah, and now I think this is Crazy Goose's first full split at this level of competition, and we'll see how he does as we head into game for the first matchup between Mirage and Zenigma. Best of three winner will move on to play against Team Fish Taco, and the loser will have to wait until that next open qualifier to play again.
Okay, so early doors, initial sprinting down to the bot side from both teams. This is the Heimerdinger special. Make sure you've got control over the bot brush so that you can dominate level one. All 10 players are in the bot lane, Grapes. There's a ward gone down on one side.
Here we go. Hook comes in. It's a stun onto four with that
Whoa!
E coming out from Cocoa Puffs, and it's first blood over to Zenigma. And oh no, it's a bit of a slaughter down in the bottom lane. Denny will pick up the second, and they might try to finish off Ariandel as well. One more auto
Ooh.
from Enthralled was almost enough, but you're going to take 2 kills any day of the week.
Yeah, the great thing about level one for Zenigma is they've got a lot of AoE spells. They can isolate one target with the Nautilus, but if they have to commit to a big skirmish, 5-man Aurelius stun, potential 5-man Maokai Q, Ari Q as well, all of this damage just layers through Mirage, and they just don't have the answers. Ariandel takes W level one, flashes in and gets the taunt down on 2-3 people. But then that's it. That's all that he had to contribute. It wasn't quite enough, and unfortunately, it is Mirage down on the back foot already.
You can take a look at the itemization, see where some of that gold was spent. Enthralled now has an extra longsword coming into lane. Zhao Danny picked up the other kill, did not end up returning back to base. So in terms of just pure 1v1 right now, not going to be much of a difference against Ariandel. But overall, of course, you're going to take that 1k gold lead where you can. It will be but red buff starts for both of these junglers. We already see some more action down in the bottom side. Pocus has to burn that flash early, and oh
Might be
no,
dead.
Enthralled is just gonna pick up another. Crazy Goose has the summoners, is gonna have to use that flash to get away. And bot lane looking a bit doomed right now.
I mean, we get a Kaiser with an extra longsword. It just helps out that all in so impressively. It's really difficult for the Mirage bot side to really do anything. they get all in, they get smacked by the hook, and they end up going down. Varus can't contribute with the summoner barrier, right? Can't save Pockets like that, and they'd been healing the level 1 exchange, so used to Heimerdinger like a sitting duck, and I love that Enthralled commits the flash to follow as well. Really committing to the bit and making sure that we illustrate this pressure of getting an all-in kill and then committing to it.
I always think of Pockets as being the one who will just throw out Nautilus hooks out random and somehow
True.
find a way to connect, but it seems like he's getting a bit of a taste of his own medicine this time around. Cerulean having a pretty solid game so far, opened up the level 1, then found another 2v2. And I think Zenigma's bot lane is going to be pretty happy with another one that's going to potentially land. Crazy Goose will be fine for now, and actually may have to be a bit careful because here comes Hype down from this bottom lane. River does have that flash. He's going to use it and pick up the first kill onto Cerulean, and now Enthralled with no summoner is going to be in a little bit of trouble as well. Big response coming out from Mirage to get 2 back and even out this score 3-2.
And this is crucial for Mirage. Their entire game plan revolves around this bot side. You're not playing for a Galio win condition. You're not playing for a tank topside win condition. You need Crazy Goose and Pockets to be ahead to facilitate your acceleration in this game, because if they don't get an early game lead, they're going to be in a very sticky situation come the later stages of the game, where there's going to be a Kai'Sa and Irelia pumping out the DPS. So really nice from Hive to recognize that his team needs him bot lane, and there needs to be more still. That is the first step of what needs to be a multi-step process to getting Crazy Goose and Pockets not just stable on that bot side, but ahead. You want to start taking plates, you want to start taking turrets, heralds. All the objectives need to go the way of Mirage early on. The later this game goes, and if the teams are on even footing, the more we favor this Enigma composition.
And that's why it was so big for Hive to get that play down onto the bottom lane. You knew that Cerulean and Enthralled burned a lot of summoners to get some kills down there, but means that they're a little bit more vulnerable. And in that 3v2 situation, you weren't able to finish off Crazy Goose, and it just meant a nice punish was to be had. You see the dragon spawning about 40 seconds with Hive and Dunks both on the bottom side of the map. Wonder if that's going to be an early contest, but the wave right now in a good spot for Mirage as we see Hypey potentially coming down again. Waiting the bush. Is it going to happen? Procs this Q. The Vault Breaker will not connect, but again, no summoners are available. Enthralled only has the Ghost. Cerulean has none, and that is just 1 kill going over once again to Crazy Goose. Enthralled will pick up 1. The Madman will try to escape through the bushes, dodge away from as many skill shots as he can. He's going to live. The Scorch doesn't do enough, and here comes Dunks and Zhao Danny going to try to make something happen as well. Zenigma trying to make use of this bad situation. Here comes Crazy Goose. He goes down. Danny lands the charm, and it's not going to be enough damage to finish off Pockets, but Zenigma will find a great answer off of another good play from Hype.
It is a wonderful read from the Zenigma mid-jungle duo. Zhao Danny, he hits level 6. He went for a commit there onto Pockets. Gets stopped by Hive, but Enthralled's here to party as well. There's no tank for this turret, so Mirage are going to be allowed to stay and collect this farm. But it's Crazy Goose, that carry from the bot lane that isn't part of this farming process. Ariandel's just died mid lane.
What?
Can we look at the plates? I need to, because the only thing I can think is that the mid lane plate is like 1 HP, and Arian. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. There we go.
Oh, it's so sad. Wait, how much health is left on that?
There we go. Justified at the very least. 7 HP, man. At that point, you just stay under the turret and give the Nautilus the gold, right?
At that point. Hey, if you took a Doran's ring instead of Doran's shield, maybe it was a different story. Who knows?
True. Adaptive damage on
turrets.
Bit
of a sad situation for Ariandel. It would have been worse if like the wave finished off the kill on the plate after he died.
Yeah, he didn't even get the gold.
Yeah, and he just don't get the gold at all. He will be able to pick this up unless something goes horribly wrong. Can we take a look at mid? Plate will go over, I think, right about now. There it is. Okay.
Vindication.
So it's yeah, just like a long-term investment, I guess.
It's a win in my book, and should be a win in Ariandel's, because they're going to be struggling to find wins for the remainder of this game. I feel like the fact that we see Zhao Danny commit to that bot lane play and not opt into, you know, lane kingdoming in the mid lane is honestly crucial, right? We've highlighted that the Mirage win condition stems pretty much exclusively from that bot side. They do still have the mid jungle prowess if they want to opt into that, but they're so far behind already, it's going to be difficult. You can see that this top side, favorable matchup for Cocoa Puffs, had the counter pick, read it, and said, this is the pick that I want. Have to imagine they feel comfortable and on an Irelia. If an Irelia is comfortable, Grapes, I am terrified.
Yeah, and Coco definitely comfortable on the Aurelia, just in general, but also in this matchup where he seems to be doing a good job getting these waves under tower, which might allow for a play like this into the mid lane. Nice charm onto Ariandel. The Justice Punch, not going to do much. He had flash anyway, so I don't think he would have died regardless.
But still, just looking, sniffing, attempting to find some plays. Nevertheless, good to see some proactivity from both of our sides, honestly, so far through these early stages. That dragon's still on the board, and with Rift Herald spawning in 30 seconds as well, we may well see that contest between the two teams of, which objective do you fancy? Which one do you fancy? And they have this little stalemate, then a potential trade comes through afterwards. That Rift Herald typically highly sought after and the more preferable objective for the leading team. But the minute neither of our bot lanes have base, that tends to be your indicator, is that Pocus and Cerulean right now would go back to base, head back out toward the mid lane, and try and take some priority around that Rift Herald.
Instead, just going to see them chilling in the bot lane for now. Dragon is still an option as neither team have picked up that objective yet. We see dunks around the area. And with the prio that Zenigma have gained, we might actually just look for a dive onto Pockets and Crazy Goose. Looks like they sniff out that this might be happening here. Dunks does have flash. He's just going to flash over that Gromp pit right now. Is he even there? No, he's at the Dragon. What am I even saying?
K-Tad baited you there.
K-Tad's baiting me a little bit. That's another sign to look at the minimap. It looks like the Dragon will be started up by Zenigma. They have about a 2,000 gold lead, but it will be traded for the Herald on the other side.
Interesting. So they're opting into more of a scaling win condition by securing themselves a soul later on and denying that early game priority from Mirage. I don't mind that. To be honest, we'll have to wait and see where Hive is able to place that Herald and see if they can find a lead with that or at least generate some gold back for themselves using the Rift Herald. It's more than just the Herald, though. There is a good attempt at a counter jungle here, and even if it is just the blue buff, every little helps when you're this far behind. Question becomes, are they going to opt into a dive on this top side? There's one plate that is a little bit begging.
It's a 2v1 under the tower. Hive lands in with that ultimate. Here comes the Vanguard's Edge. Coco trying to survive it, but the addition of Ariandel will make sure that nothing fishy ends up going down. It's just another nice kill for Mirage up top.
Great play by Mirage, finding the first kill in that top lane. Poor Coco Puffs has been destitute on that island, and then the first thing that happens really in his lane is he gets 3-man dove. The power of Galio Vi, though, you get to see it firsthand. There's not really an outplay there for anybody that gets hit. If you're getting hit by that Vi ulti, your one outplay is a Zhonya's, and of course, if my Aurelia has built a stopwatch at this early into the game, we're throwing down some missing pings already.
Looks like he'll be fine for now. Overall, pretty good stuff from Mirage. I mean, that's kind of what this Galio has to do at this point. Find these angles on the dives. Hive has been pretty active across the map despite his team kind of falling behind, largely due to that level 1 at the beginning of the game. And, you know, it's always a bit of an issue, especially when all the scaling on the top side of the map for Zenigma definitely does work out for you. It'll be interesting to see if Mirage will be able to kind of come back somehow, because they have played pretty well aside from, you know, getting hit by that Nautilus hook at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I think that the level 1 really has set them off guard and put them in a really difficult position. And that position is not getting any easier, right? If we look at the items, this is sort of the apex of the difference that we're going to see between the two teams. Zhao Dani has a completed Liandry's, and Thrall has that completed Kraken Slayer, where Crazy Goose is sitting on, yes, the components of his lethality item, but Ariandel is sitting on a mana crystal. Right? Yes, he's got the tier 2 boots and a Dark Seal, but if we're talking about how close we are to a mythic completion, we're not even close right now.
Hey,
Base has come through
picked up an Emptome, so we're
that
getting there.
doesn't help me. I was thinking this is going to be at the very least like a lost chapter. This is sad times right now for Ariandel in the mid lane. The good thing is that your Galio, it's not quite Malphite syndrome where you're useful whatever, but you can still press your buttons even if you're going to die very quickly.
Yeah, the crowd control doesn't scale with ability power, at least. So that's like that's one sort of win for Ariandel and the Galio. It's a 1,500 gold difference specifically in the mid lane, not including the fact that there was the tier 2 boosts rushed for Ariandel, and the fact that Zhao Dani has the magical boots, which means that just to spend all of that money for the first mythic of the game. And it looks like the carries for Zenigma are playing very, very well right now. And we'll see if that continues as we move forward in this game.
I think the positive for Mirage right now is there's actually nothing on the map for them to fight for. We're only 12 minutes into the game, and both objectives got taken at around the same time. So we're waiting for another, 5 minutes from that point before these objectives start becoming particularly pertinent and before those first big fights start to come through. It could be here as Mirage make a play for the top side.
They will get this turret almost in
Oh
entirety. Not going to
no!
be able to finish it off. It's another Ariandel syndrome. They will get the first brick, but now here comes the rest of Zenigma. Cocoa Puffs picks up the kill onto Barrack, and Ariandel will have to flash away.
Not bad, honestly, by Mirage. This is an excellent proactive play if Zenigma can't get too much more back. Coco Puffs probably gets a plating on that top side, potentially even two. But they only lose one member in the top lane, Mirage. They get the full turret. Yes, it's split between 3 people, but that's not a particular concern. Crazy Goose and Pocus get a lot of time down on this bot side to collectively try and re-evaluate their position and get a bit more gold back.
Uh-oh. Maybe could find something here. Nice usage
Great
of the
timing.
ultimate to try and cancel out that CC, but Cocoa Puffs will come through.
Oh,
Dunks
that's great.
cancels the last
Auto.
power shot with the twisted advance. The last little minions will not be able to finish off the tree, and Dunks will live for now. Oh no, wait, Ariandel's coming in here as well, but he misses the Winds of War, and now Cocoa Puffs is coming in to try and finish off the job. Doesn't have that Blade Surge just yet, and now the re-engage could come through. Barrack and a dash over here, send in another all out, and that is the Aurelia going down, 450 into the hands of Cassante.
Wow, Ariandel there just playing a little bit with Coco Puff, says, hey, come get this, Galio. You can't. And Barrack hops over the wall, saves his mid laner, finds a response kill. It was almost a great play by Hive on that top side. Honestly, played it about as perfect as you could have done, but just a little too much damage coming out of the Demonic Embrace plus Blade of the Ruin King combo in that top jungle 2 versus 1. Got to credit Dunks once again, though. Saves Twisted Advance for dropping the turret aggro and making sure that nobody dies on the initial dive. Drake is now live, though. Hive already made his claim down here, and with the Maokai dying on the top side, Dunks hasn't been able to set down the Sapling Kingdom that we love to see from Maokai's around objectives.
Still finishing off that Raptor Camps. Enigma will be late to the party, but the hook coming out from Carulian once again will be followed by that Killer Instinct, and immediately Pocus is actually taken out of the fight. Barrack coming forward does not have the ultimate, but can be a pretty beefy boy for the rest of Mirage. The flash coming forward. Crazy Goose is taken down by Enthralled, and another charm will land
it's a
on
wipe.
Dante's. The Enigma is taking over this fight. The flash forward from Carulian to secure another objective. This Nautilus has had an incredible game so far, and the young prodigy Force Enigma is leading their team to a Game 1 victory.
It might not be 5 for the boys in blue, but it's certainly not losing anybody on their own side. Mirage gets swept in the fight, 3-0. And that is the second Drake of the game, heading over to Zenigma. This is a great open-up to this series, looking very likely that they'll be able to take this game. They've got better scaling, better items, better Drakes as well. Unfortunate for them that they get the Chemtech Soul, but they'll not be complaining if they can rush themselves up towards an early Elder. They'll be more than happy to take those off the board as well. Really strong position for them to be in, and Zenigma right here are going to be very happy.
4K gold lead for our number 15 seed in the open qualifier. Remember, Zenigma was seeded, I believe, 21st in the open qualifier out of the amateur selection committee. And they have been putting up a pretty big show, whether it was their wins against Super Sunshine in the open qualifier and now against Mirage, a team that many people had pretty high regards for, just given the name values on some of the players on this roster. But definitely is Enigma coming out on top, and a lot of it is due, again, to that bottom lane of Enthralled and Carulian.
Important to remember that there is a little bit of sort of firepower, star power on the Zenigma side as well, right? You mentioned Coco Puffs having a fairly prolific stream career, and also we have to remember that Dunks, this isn't his first rodeo in the amateur space. Either was a substitute for Jake's Kittens, rest in peace, for their duration of 2022 summer. So there is certainly an element of professional experience on this roster, and right now it is going to see them through the early stages of this game. 4,000 gold to the good, just 16 minutes in. Feels like we've reached a mid game when in some situations you can go 16 minutes without really seeing a kill. We've actually seen 16 kills. It's a kill per minute in this game, Grapes, right? Like, level 1 really set the tone for the match.
And I'm all for it. You know, the more bloodshed, the more I get to talk, and the more I get to talk, the more I get to hear my own voice, and that's always a good thing for somebody like me. You're a caster, gotta have a little bit of ego in order to make it in this space. And right now, we're seeing the egos maybe being swelled up a little bit by Zenigma. They've had a pretty solid game. You mentioned Coco Puffs also played in the Team Liquid Challengers tryouts this winter. In a pool of pretty talented players. Of course, Bradley was there to maybe not the biggest shot of getting picked up by TL, but showing that they regard him pretty highly, as another fight might be potentially breaking out. They will actually be able to burst down Dunks, just given that Vi Galio combo. But now maybe Enigma's looking to continue to fight. Coco sends out the Vanguard's Edge, will not look to go forward just yet. The knockup does land. Zhao
Ooh.
Danny is over the wall, and it looks like he will just have to use that Spirit Rush to get away.
Okay, uses one more to try and re-engage. Doesn't end up coming to fruition though. This could just be that attempt. Herald plays. Hive going to put it down. Whether or not Mirage can get this turret is going to be another question. Herald would do the lion's share of the work. And it looks like between a Demolish proc and a bit of pressure from the 5 members, they are going to complete the job that Ariandel started.
Oh, the charm on top of the dredge line locks Hypey down. Ariandel comes through with a pretty big ulti, but here comes Enthralled with the killer instinct to try to assassinate one. Barrack on the backside will be taken down, as well as Enthralled. Another shutdown comes through. Cerulean lands another hook. Are you kidding me? This Nautilus finding so many opportunities, and another fight is won for Zenigma.
That was a 4v5 as well. They lose their tier 1 turret, but they managed to do incredible work in the fight afterwards. They may even be able to get this tier 1.
Oh, here comes another stun. Ariandel is under the tower. Zhao Danny, one more tower shot might take him down, but there comes the Leandri's burn, as this Ahri is now unstoppable. It's a trade 1-for-1, as Coco does go down on the back end of that fight. But just again, the aggression, and the pick potential coming out from Zenigma is just so good.
This time, importantly for Mirage, they defend their tier 1 turret and were able to take the enemy. So map control going a little bit in their favor. That tier 1 turret is like one stiff breeze away from going over. If there's one unattended mid wave, you can imagine that Zenigma will be able to take that for themselves. And we have to remember that their carries are very, very fed. 5 kills mid, 5 kills ADC. 2 items already for Enthralled. That Shadow Flame also picked up for Zhao Danny. Remember, ADC spike an item earlier on 13-1B. With those Navori quick blades already picked up, it means that Enthralled is going to be zooming about the map and have a lot of ease, a lot of the attack speed steroid coming through, and even more Icathian Reigns also. So be careful when fighting this Kai'Sa, because Enthralled not only is going to be dealing a lot of damage, but has shown, just with the use of that killer instinct in the last fight, a lot of tenure on the champion, knowing exactly what the limits are and getting the most out of them.
Yeah, the quick blades means that any assassination attempt is just going to be even better due to the amplification of spell damage with the quick blades in hand. So if you are getting caught out with a single target, a Capian Rain, with this 2-item Kai'Sa, it is going to hurt a whole damn lot. And so hopefully we'll see a little bit more of that, as Mirage, it looks like they're going to be giving up this dragon for another play on the other side of the map. Here comes that combo. Once again, they will be able to knock up Zhao Danny, maybe a little bit too far forward, as a big shutdown goes in the hands of Pockets.
Nicely done, though, taking down the mid laner. And in response, there's a tier 1 turret falling. Tier 2 on the top side, though. This could be a time for Mirage to get a little bit crazy with their decision making. I saw one ping on the Baron and thought, maybe that's a bit too much. But they do opt into just taking one turret on the top side.
Ariandel wants to try and make a play down in the bottom side of the map. Coco Puffs looks like he probably will be able to get out safe. And there comes the Everfrost as well. How long can Coco Puffs buy in terms of time? Because, as you said, Ruse, Enigma is taking the Baron on the other side of the map. Coco not going to go down just yet. Chunks Mirage down to about half HP. And now with the Soul Laners on the opposite side of the maps, Enigma are going to start up this Baron. Here comes Cerulean for the depth charge in onto the jungler, and Hyphy is about to be taken down to the ground. Barrack comes in with the teleport. Enthralled has to flash away, dodges away from that final knockup with the Intofo strike.
And straight back to it.
3,000 HP. No jungler is alive for Mirage. Zhao Danny looking to try to come forward with the damage. The Baron gets secured, and then he comes forward again. Another charm connects onto Baron, and he continues to dash forward. Dunks in onto Crazy Goose, gonna knock him back. This Ahri is going wild as another charm connects. It was almost a quad, but Dunks will take it away. The ace secured regardless for Zenigma.
Baron and an ace. Zenigma play the map beautifully. They find the kill in the bot side, but they turn it out into so much more. Yes, Coco Puffs is the one that falls, but they lose Enthralled at the Baron and get 5 members back. Gorgeous team fighting. Dunks and Zhao Danny pairing up beautifully to take down every single member of Mirage. You have to give them immense amount of credit under pressure as well. because when they went back to that Baron, it was about 5k HP, and between the carries, they had maybe 1,000 HP total, but they were ready. They knew their limitations. They knew that with Hive down, they could focus out the Baron and turn for the fight afterwards. Krullian, again, recognizing his opportunities and recognizing his role on this roster. I am the engage. I must find the fight using this Nautilus. It's not a champion we see in the meta because of how weak it can feel during the laning phase, but during this mid-game phase when objectives are king and picks are king, Cerulean is stepping up.
The ability to just flash forward and lock down the jungler, the decision-making process there while the Baron is being taken by your team, so good by Cerulean and the rest of Zenigma. Coco does have to flash away, but they do have that Baron buff for another couple of seconds or so, I believe. Wonder what kind of other plays they can make around the map. They have to look at Enthralled, but a beautiful Killer Instinct out will make sure that the crowd control does actually not lock him down. Hive is continuing to chase, and Enthralled is still going to survive. Meanwhile, on the other side, Crazy Goose is taken out, and another charm connects by Zhao Danny. He's landed them all with this Ahri pick. Cerulean will be the one to land the final blow. Coco dies on the backside, but Dunk's looking to continue the chase as two members of Mirage are only left alive. So Enigma will look to push into mid and try to open up the base on the side of Mirage.
Yeah, Coco Bus has been a big crash test dummy this game for Mirage. Has been the beating bag that they've been heading into, but not really the threat that they need to be piling all of the damage down. Enthralled was the focus there of Hive and Ariandel, but managed to kite it out beautifully. I can't emphasize this enough. Those Navori quick blades are doing so much work. You reset E with every auto attack on Kai'Sa anyway. So the fact that you get quick blade and amplify that reset capability, he was able to get 2 of them off while kiting out the Vi. And even though Hive probably has got full points in that queue, he doesn't have the damage nor the ability to close the gap enough. Beautiful kiting from him forward. Zhao Danny comes across the wall as well, lands a pivotal charm to make it a quick 1v1. And overall, the carries for Zenigma pull out a huge one in the mid lane. They take down 2 turrets. They've still got a bit of time before they need to be out in front of this Drake, but they're already here, Grapes. They've got back to base. They've got a minute left to set up, and now the Maokai Kingdom is ready for the soul.
Yeah, here come those saplings. Going to be tossed all around the Jungle Dragon pit. It will be the soul for Zenigma if they are able to pick this one up. For additional damage on low HP when, you know, that ends up happening a pretty fair amount in these late game team fights. Coco Puffs will almost land that stun onto Pockets, and now Mirage have to decide what to do. They don't have the ultimate out of Ariandel just yet, which means that it's going to be pretty hard to get into the pit.
It's so hard. They need so much CC layering onto Enthralled for them to even stand a chance. You can see they're sort of sniffing around looking for a rogue angle to head into. Enthralled shows mid.
Might be a potential opportunity. Here comes a Nature's Grasp. Mirage have to get on out of there potentially. Barrack is going to block it up and buffer out the CC. And now Mirage, they know this is their final chance. But Cerulean lands a massive knockup and Enthralled to the backside, ripping and shredding through the Mirage. It's a double kill in for Coco. TPs are coming into mid. Zenigma don't even need the dragon. They're going to try to end right now.
As they should, Grapes. 4th for nothing. The support, the only one left standing. And Mirage, they knew that was their final stand. They knew it was the last chance effort in this matchup, but they stood no chance. Dunks with the Nature's Grasp comes through, and that just pulls the trigger for Zenigma. They are more than ready to take this fight. 4 members dead, 10 seconds left. Maybe a bit of a race against the clock here, Grapes, but I think they got this.
It's 5 seconds on Hive, 5 seconds on Crazy Goose. The death timers are going to come up pretty easily. It's going to be a bit of a tough battle, maybe 2v4. No minions remain, but the Nexus is now exposed, and Enthralled is just so big onto this backside. Hive is trying to finish off anything, but he has a Radiant Virtue. He's not a whole lot of damage, but the Hero's Entrance comes through, and Mirage is going to save the game at their base. The death timers were a little bit too short for the side of Zenigma. A quadra kill for Crazy Goose as they hold the line.
It's a good start, Grace, but they're going to need another couple of those types of kills to get fully back into this game. They may be able to stave off the soul for one more bout of 5-minute rotation, but that's about it. Look at their base. It is in tatters. No Nexus turrets. 1 inhibitor down already. And with the Baron spawning in 47 seconds.
Dunks.
He could give a Penta here.
I think the timer is a little bit too long at this point. Crazy Goose will be able to secure the dragon as a bit of a consolation prize. No Penta, unfortunately, here for this Mirage bottom laner.
Fun fact about Pentas. It's different to the other types of multi-kill. You can get a Penta right up until the first person respawns on the enemy team. So
Oh,
even though that
really?
was like a long time, nobody had actually respawned. So they could have still got it. Just as
So
a little FYI.
it's until
Just one.
everybody respawns or the
The
first person
first
respawns.
person. Yeah, I feel like that's right. I'm pretty sure I've heard that and it be held true. Pentas have like a really long timer because
Yeah,
of
I
it.
know it's longer. I just didn't know it was that long, especially when you get late into the game. It's like 40 seconds. That's pretty.
Hmm.
It's pretty
Maybe
long
that's a lie and
margin
I'm
there.
spreading misinformation, but Zenigma are on the Baron and that's what's important.
Hey, there's no way to know unless another penta happens here. So let's see and hope for the best as the Baron gets started up by Zenigma. I don't know if Hive is going to be able to get into that pit
Well, he's
without
in.
kind of dying really quickly. It's about 2,000 HP. They're going to burst down the Baron. It almost made it a 50-50, but Hive wasn't able to take it away. Zhao Danny onto the backside will pick up the first kill onto Pockets, has another proc of that Spirit Rush to look for another member. They actually go right past Barrack because he wants the juicy target in. Crazy Goose. A double kill in for the Ahri, and now Barrack going to try to match in the 2v1. Cocoa Puffs looking to try and find something, but Barrack won't be able to finish off Danny. It's another ace coming through. We waited a little bit of extra time, but just showing off Zenigma's force one last time. It's a 28-minute victory, and now Zenigma is one match away for a rematch against TFT.
You know, I would say this game was nice and close to open us up, Grapes, but honestly, that level 1 really did just set the pace for the entire game. Enigma, they found that 2 for 0, and they never really stopped going from there. That was a kill on their AD carry, a kill on their mid laner, and lo and behold, it was those Zhao Danny that went off huge and enthralled that had a massive performance as well. First bloods tend to matter when you get them quite like that, so a really good performance overall, and I can't really wait to see what happens in game number 2, because if it's more of the same, we could be out for a one and done and have the series wrapped up in the space of time it took for some of the other series to get one game out of done.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny if it just ends all that quickly. A really big shout out again to Cerulean and to Zhao Danny, who both, were able to play a massive role in that level 1 and also just took the gold that they got and just absolutely snowballed it to a game 1 victory. I am hoping that next game doesn't have that big of a spike at the start of the matchup, because I think Mirage actually had a lot of good pieces working together. They just didn't have the money and the stuff in their pockets to really match up by the end of it.
Yeah, I mean that the whole composition was built around winning early game, and then they lost at level 1, so it was a little doomed from there. But they get another go. They get to run it back and have another attempt in a game number 2. That's why we play best of threes.
Yeah, one more matchup, one more opportunity for Mirage to get into that game number 3, or it will just be them sent home for another couple of weeks or so. Wait until that next OQ to get another shot. We're going to take a short break, and when we return, it's game 2 between Zenigma and Mirage. Welcome back, everybody. Rude, you have a new shirt on. It looks very nice.
Yeah, man. I decided wearing an Udi on broadcast, not the move, because even especially in a game like that, that was actually like a lot of really exciting team fights.
Yeah.
I was already sweating.
Were
I've
you
gone
sweating
away.
at the
I've
end of
really
it?
yeah. We've got away with deodorant up again. We're back with take two, and hopefully with a nice white shirt as well. We should just be nice and cool, you know.
Cool, calm, and collected for game two.
Hmm.
Zenigma is up 1-0 over Mirage, as I believe our numbers are a bit mixed up down there. Mirage is down and needs a
Yeah.
victory to stay alive. Hopefully, yeah, they were hoping that it would be 1-0. But speaking of one, Rude, that level one in game one,
Woo.
not great for Mirage.
Not great. Did decide the entire game. Hopefully, we don't have one of those again. But again, you have to give the credit where it's due, and the recognition from Zenigma that if they don't let bot lane snowball, not a right lot that could be done by Mirage with the draft that they'd given themselves. Now, it's worth remembering and worth noting, I suppose, for ourselves here is that Mirage opted into red side once again for game number two. So they this time, have decided that red side is where they're comfortable, where they want to be playing. So I'm hoping that they make some adaptations. I think that you either need to put a carry on that top side to say, we focused out Cocoa Puffs quite heavily there, did Mirage, right? There were a
Yeah.
couple heroes entrances onto the Aurelia and certainly got focused down a little bit. But all of that gold went onto a Cassante. If it's on something like a Jace, even a Renekton, right? It's gold in a better pocket.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy to execute strategy that Mirage has set up for themselves, right? It's the Vi ults in, the Galio ults in on top. It's pretty easy for the kills to come through. But how like they were so far behind, and when it came down to it, they weren't able to find a huge knock up onto multiple members to really turn a fight around with Ariandel. And so I'm hoping that either the goal, like either level one doesn't happen like that again, or they're able to get resources back into a better use top laner in Barrack, as you were saying, Rude, to maybe make some of the high crowd control picks, work a little bit better in terms of team fights.
And I also want to see Ash in this draft, right? Like, this jump has insane priority and insane demand for the bot lane, but it just didn't get picked. I feel like it's a window that we could potentially see another extra advantage picked up for Mirage. They obviously are going to be playing with the knowledge that Kaiser Nautilus now exist, having seen Zenigma pull it out in game number one. So there's obviously that opportunity that they ban it away for game number two. I'm not sure if Kaiser Nautilus are a package deal akin to the Lucian Nami. Can we go for things like Callista, Callista and Nautilus, or Kaiser with Rel, for example, right? Like
Yeah.
there are certainly pairings that can go along with both of those bot lane combos. So we'll have to wait and see.
It's interesting how like now if we're not just going for the trade Lucian Nami Zeri Lulu, like different
Mm.
things can start to unfold a little bit. The Kaisa Nautilus definitely threw a wrench into the plans of Mirage because Cerulean was just able to find massive engages over and over and over again. So we hope for them that on the side of Mirage, they're able to figure something else out. Of course, the Varisheimer should work in theory if you don't give up 2 kills level one. The high poke lanes should be okay
Mm.
as long as you don't get hit by Cerulean. So
Typically, 700 gold at level one is not
it's a
optimal.
big
I will
deal.
confirm
No,
that.
definitely a bit of a problem, I think. And maybe bot lane will be another angle that we look at here because again, very impressed by the play out of Enthralled and Cerulean throughout this tournament. Relatively new bot lane, as we have mentioned multiple times. I did actually do a little bit more research as we're heading into draft for game number two. Cerulean and Barrack were both on that Mercenaries team that took down Golden Guardians Academy in 2021. I don't know if you remember that, Rude.
I
A while
do. I
ago.
do.
But it
That
was cinnamon
is
bread. Everyone was talking about
time.
cinnamon bread, but nobody
Yes.
remembers Cerulean and Barrack. They were both there.
And Carillion here in this one, well, I mean, making the name for himself in this series at the very least. That Nautilus was certainly very stellar and worthy of the hype given. You also mentioned in the break as well, Zhao Dani, not as unknown as potentially we may have gone for, was the substitute mid laner for UCI through 2022. So if you're a fan of Cinnamon Bread, you will most likely be a fan of Zhao Dani working
Yeah.
underneath one another.
There's
So
some interactions here.
there are, and that's the beauty of amateur, right? There's these 6 degrees of separation that end up just being 1 degree, and you're like, oh, that's who this player is. So we're in a really good spot for the narrative purposes.
Yeah, taking a look at some of the other names, of course, Enthralled is currently enrolled in Fisher College, who was previously Bay State, who played against UCI in CELOL over this past couple of years as well. And as we mentioned, Hyphy, formerly of Converse, and just a lot of connections in the collegiate space overall. Of course, some of these players actually have CELOL games this weekend as well. So created
Busy,
some
busy bees.
interesting rescheduling problems potentially over there. Shout out to Godel Gamers and Trickster, who unfortunately were not able to get their jungler in because of some certain collegiate restrictions. Either way, we're here for a good time. Maybe not for
A long
talk
time.
about CLO rescheduling. Hopefully not for a long
Oh.
time if they got a matchup right after this. Varus locked in B1 as we see a bit of a different look from Enthralled and Cerulean.
Yeah, so there's the Maokai ban is the difference for Mirage here. So there's no B1 option there for Dunks. Instead, they opt to take Enthralled's Varus. And Mirage already opting into something a little different. They take away the strong pairing of the Karma, which has a decent matchup into that Ashe, should we see Cerulean opt into that on part two. The good thing about Varus is you can technically get away with going for a Kai'Sa pick or going for a Nautilus pick here, excuse me, because Varus, again, the reason he's picked is because he's very strong in the laning phase. If you pair that with an engaged support, there's still some good kill potential there. So option for Cerulean to pick pretty much what he would like down on that bot side and still have it work out into this Karma.
We saw him look very good on the Nautilus in game number 1. And, Pockets likes to play heavy engaged supports as well. Looks like we'll be on a second straight ranged champion this time around with the Karma getting locked in. But maybe not the same for Cerulean as we take a look at the rest of this draft. We're going to be matching mid laners very early. Something I didn't get to mention in game number 1 is that Ryze is strong on this patch and Ariandel is in the game, which means that this is also a really good opportunity. Back in 2021, Ariandel had a lot of really good Ryze games while that champion was really popular in the meta. And now, think that this is actually a pretty good 1-2, and we'll see what the response for Zenigma is on the other side.
Yeah, and actually for Zhao Dani, this is again a decent matchup in the mid lane. I will say the Ari does outrange the Ryze in. Oh!
Oh, we're
Oh!
throwing it down.
Okay!
Barrack on the Darius as we close out the first
So
rotation.
they have to ban Aurelia here. I'm almost certain because the Aurelia can dodge out on Beric's like biggest amount of damage in the outer part of the queue if she just presses Q at the same time. So I feel like that's a matchup that Beric either has to be comfortable in and they won't ban it, or they can just ban it here in this rotation. I'm looking forward to this. Right, I saw a Darius actually in the NLC. There's a French top laner called Wow who's again proficient with this champion, got a pentakill this week. So
Oh, wow.
very much on the wavelength here of Beric.
Well, maybe not on your wavelength though, Rude, because they have not banned away that Aurelia. Cocoa Puffs loves Aurelia. I checked his socials and he claims that he is the #1 Aurelia player in North America.
Okay.
And I've seen some pretty good games out of him on that champion. Had a bit of a rough time in game number 1 just because of the fact that
You got focused
Hyphy and
heavily.
Ariandel
Yeah.
existed in the game with Vi Galio. Also, just a quick note for production: it is Enigma 1, Mirage 0, so the numbers are a bit mixed up here. In case you are just looking down and just joining us for the first time. But the second phase of bans has concluded, and we'll see if Coco is going to lock in that counter matchup in the top side of the map.
I think that with these bans as well, from ZEN Enigma, they've opted into obviously this double AD ban that pairs nicely with the Karma. Zaya here doesn't give them a lot of lane control, but it does give Crazy Goose some durability in the late game. If you see Cerulean fire off that depth charge onto the Zaya, it's very easy to immune if you use the Feather Storm at the right time. Of course, there's a lot of other CC still available.
Yeah.
And I was actually going to say, you still need Cleanse, right? Cleanse versus Nautilus doesn't particularly look good, but Cleanse versus Varus, Cleanse versus Ori do look like good options. So going for both just makes it difficult.
I think that Crazy Goose was a bit sick of just getting charmed or hooked or something every single time. Gonna play the Zaya for a little bit of extra survivability. It is not the Aurelia that you were talking about, Rude.
Ooh.
Instead, Coco is gonna go for something a little bit safer. The Shen, not gonna win against the Darius, but will be able to maybe hold his own a little bit until that standing ready comes online.
You say that. I've
Does
seen
do
some
damage.
crazy Shens. Yeah, there's a lot of nuance to the Shen in the top lane, and we can get into that a little later on. I will say his trades are a lot better than people give credit for, and we can leave it at that for a little bit of time here. Dunks locks in the Viego, so carry jungler once again for these Enigma jungle. Mirage, though, they've got counter pick for the jungle. Hive was stuck on Vi in a matchup versus a Maokai was automatically losing. Instead, they opt for the Monkey King, so it's not necessarily this wow, insane R5 counter pick, but it's still a very, very strong champion. And I will say this till anybody will stop listening to me. Wukong destroys Varus, and Thrall is going to have a
Yep.
torrid time of things if he's not super fed.
It will be really easy to get on to this Varus and even just some of the other members in the backline of Zenigma as well. Mirage set up a really solid front to back composition for themselves. As long as Barrack doesn't get targeted in some of these early ganks, which honestly he could just turn in a 2v1 by being Darius. I feel like this will be a really good way for them to even up this series as long as they play their team fights right.
I think so as well, and they are going to need a little bit of time. It is worth saying that they're going to need, a couple of items for Crazy Goose, for Ariandel. This Rise certainly needs to scale with the 2-3 item spike that we know the Tier and Rod of Ages can hit. Crazy Goose as well. This time gets the luxury of being able to build Navori Quick Blades, something that we got to see for enthralled on the
Yeah.
Kai'Sa last game. Navori on Xayah actually work incredibly well, not just because you get more roots, more CC, more uptime on your W as well, but because obviously the roots do more damage now.
Yep.
So you do get a big boost from Navori when you hit that. If you hit it at 2 or 3, has been largely to AD carry's discretion. You're not particularly bound by going it second because Xayah does enjoy the attack speed still, so we get to see what Crazy Goose opts for.
I feel like we've seen a lot of going for that, crit amplifier second though, because of the
Yeah,
new way that the patch has gone. Unless you're somebody like Twitch who likes going Blade of the Ruin King or Vayne or something like that. Maybe not in that case, but it does just open up a lot of extra power for AD carries. And we definitely saw it in game number 1 with Enthralled and the Kaisa.
that's true. That's true. I think you with that build as well, you like really skippy evolve. Like that is super delayed because Navori
Yeah.
has no attack speed on it. So it's that choice that you have to make going for either, like you say, the crit amplification or for stealth for more attack speed. Either way, though, with the Xayah, I'm excited to see what Crazy Goose can do. It has a lot more agency this game, and the Xayah itself going to look a lot better.
Hopefully so, because he had a pretty rough time of just getting hit by hooks basically from minute one. If you go back to the start of that one, the Nautilus Ari combo worked really well for Zenigma in that last game, though, in terms of finding picks. The charms and the hooks just seem to have 100% hit rates throughout the entire game.
Yeah,
And I feel like even though you lock in Isaiah, that might not be able to change despite
that's
some
why we
of
take
the
cleanse.
stuff that have been set up. Yeah.
That's why we take cleanse.
Cleanse stops one of them. Does it stop the dredge line? No, I don't
No, but
think
that's why
so.
you've got ult. You see, you dodge one with the ult, and then you dodge the other one with not dodging and just hit cleanse. Right?
I have a
Obviously, Crazy Goose isn't going to be looking to get hit by these, but if he does,
We're gonna have to dodge a couple of them though. If it is like
yes.
the cooldown still exists. Like the ulti
No,
cooldown
no,
compared to the dredge
no.
line.
This is Earth, I'm afraid, but only for
For
Crazy Goose.
Earth only for the ulti and the cleanse out of Crazy Goose is what
Yep.
we're hearing right here, Reed. Okay, very well. Hopefully we'll be able to just dodge out of the CC, have a really good game too, send us to that decider. Because this was definitely not the result that we were expecting, whether it was coming into the group stage or coming into the open qualifier. Mirage, I think overall was hyped up pretty heavily coming into this open qualifier. Haven't had, the best results in terms of the open qualifier. They were seeded 10th, so maybe on the precipice of going 4-1, had to play that do or die round 5. And on the other side, Enigma had a very had a ton of over expectations in terms of their performance and would be able to add another qualification to that list with a win here.
Yeah, that they have, like you say, certainly upset those expectations. But I think for this game specifically, we have harkened a lot on that bot side and pseudo forgotten that Beric and Coco Puffs are playing a Shen Darius matchup. We are opting to go back to like season 2, season 3 times with these champions right now. And
Great
Beric
rework.
is we exactly right. We asked Beric to be on a champion that could carry, and that's what this adaptation we were hoping for on Red Side was going to be. Darius just fits that bill to a T, right?
Right.
Ariandel, we know him to be a player that likes to help out his side lanes. Rise, once again, you've got that global, semi-global mobility with the realm warp, so there's a lot of tools to get him into the side lane, make this Rise feel some pressure, and put again a lot of attention toward Coco Puffs. But this time we'll reap more rewards because the people that they're sending can carry a little bit better.
And I think that overall Mirage just front to top to bottom, front to back in terms of 5v5 composition, they're gonna look really good as long as they stay on even footing. Zenigma offers a couple of extra added, question marks and wild cards that can be thrown in there with the Shen, with Viego resets potentially taking over the
Hmm.
game, or the picks that we were mentioning earlier. So, we'll
S-
see
Uh,
exactly what happens. But
yeah,
Zenigma definitely
Zenigma
have the
dive.
opportunity.
They dive super well. Not just because they've got Shen, which is like a super boost, but all of their other champions, except for the Varus, are going to have a great time going forward. If you can find that initial kill, and I think that the Shen ult should be used largely sparingly for dunks and dunks alone, just because if he gets that first kill, gets that reset, he's going to be in a great position to take over the entire fight, not just find that first kill.
The resets for dunks are going to be huge. Maybe on the level 1. Once again, Pockets.
No,
Okay, just putting
put
the ward
away,
down and
put
making sure that
away.
nobody else is there. Mirage does not want to lose game 2 the way they lost game number 1.
Okay, I like that though. Still from Zenigma, they recognize that there's a potential for a Karma to be down there. Don't end up going for anything more, and they're not going to get anything. And if they did, opting for some Ariandel, we ward those. Okay. Oh, I mean, I don't know about the choice not to ward there, but that's clearly a conscious effort to stay a little bit safer during the laning phase. If you put that ward down now, uh, it means that you can track jungle very early, but you don't have that ward then for any laning that you're trying to do. So I can sort of understand either way. Maybe we see Beric put one down instead. But with the resets back out, it's Dunk starting out. It looks like on the Wolves here on Viego. I'm going to be opting to path toward that bot side a little bit later.
Almost was wondering if maybe you just want to really shut down this Darius early. And oh, wait, actually, this is a really cool deviation from some of the strategies that we've seen throughout the early season. It's Barrack and Hive going for a blue buff invade. They are spotted on the ward, but the level 1 just goes so hard for Darius. It's not going to be easy for Dunks to have any sort of comeback here.
Yeah, of course, the hemorrhage stacking. Oh, Dunks can smite this. If he can sneak into this brush, oh, he got spotted. That's unlucky.
Oh, he's just going to dash forward. It is secured by Hive. A successful heist here for the Wukong. And now actually proccing that Conqueror. Going to have a lot of damage with the crushing blows. Forces a flash out of Dunks. And it's going to send that Viego back to his own base.
Yeah, Nimbus strikes still on cooldown, but bot lane.
Pockus maybe forgetting that he's playing Karma. Walking a little bit too far forward. Crazy Goose does not have drag
Got
back
lethal
just yet with
tempo.
the Blade Caller. So won't be able to finish off any of these kills. It is 3 Summoners Burn for Mirage bot lane. 2 for Enigma. Crucially, both Varus and Nautilus have their flashes up.
Yeah, so if they get caught out, they can potentially escape any angle for that bot lane gank. Dunk's actually already based, obviously forced back from that interference, we'll say, from Hype in the jungle. But he's going to be down on the bot side a little bit sooner to preempt any efforts, or Dunks rather is going to be on the bot side a little bit sooner to preempt any efforts that come through from the Monkey King. And with this bot lane priority, may actually be able to look into an invade. If Enthralled and Cerulean can get this wave crashed into the turret, start walking into the jungle, and potentially pay another visit.
Oh, yeah, they're spotted on. He is spotted on a ward. So Pockets and Crazy Goose know that they have to be careful. But despite the early camp steal from Hype, he's still level 2, which means it's a pretty even matchup in a potential invade. The smite is going to be secured by Hype, and it looks like he will go 2 for 2 in terms of those battles, as Dunks has to walk away empty-handed once again.
Yeah, this is really good for Mirage. We've seen Hive now take 3 camps where we've only seen Dunks do 1. He had to go back to base, walk all the way back out toward this bot side. Gromp get nothing for his efforts. Now walk all the way back to the Raptors.
Yeah.
This is a lot of time wasted for Dunks. He's going to now be off the map for a good couple of minutes while he simply catches up.
Importantly, does have some extra camps to take, but I mean, Hype still has way more just because of the way that invade went. Pretty early lead for the Mirage jungler right now. Wow. Zhao Danny not going to hit by anything and has the HP advantage because of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a small thing that we just recognize. Rise combos are EQ, EQ, EQ. But if you're not rooting and you don't get hit, obviously I know Ariandel used the root in that trade, but Zhao Danny with some, like I say, fancy feet doesn't get hit by double overload. And it means that, like you say, Grips, he's winning out on that trade, and that gives a little bit more leniency to Zhao Danny and how he can play the laning phase.
Looks like he still will get that wave pushed under the tower, as Hype will try to go for actually an invade on the enemy red buff. We see that, back to his own red. I'm getting confused a little bit here. Dunks was able to clear out the bottom
Nobody
side,
knows which jungle is which this game. Both have just been in and around on one another's jungle. It's like, It's
Yeah.
confusing enough. I can
They
understand.
they have kind of just been all over the place in like whether it was invades or potential dive opportunities. Just a really interesting time for both these junglers, and despite the fact that neither side has gained first blood from it, it does mean it's a slight lead for Mirage and Hive.
Yeah, I mean, you can just look at the jungle camps, right? I mean, Hive is going to have probably Raptors to go back to as well. We'll certainly have the Sheen, potentially a longsword as well. I think Sheen for both of these junglers is like that must get first base. Okay, round out of cooldowns, but you can see good trades in mid and a potential effort on the top side. Surprisingly enough, Cocoa Puffs staving off the aggression of the Darius so far. Looks like his wave's in a bit of a compromised position though. Oh, okay,
Oh,
well, Ariandel died under the turret and Xiao Dani lives.
how did he get there?
Well, I
Was
can't
he
blame the
was it
plate this time.
Yeah, the plate was nowhere near dying
Yeah.
there. I assume it was just a one more
Botched
Q and
dive.
he's dead and just never hit the
Yeah.
Q. Maybe more than
Either
those fancy
way,
feet.
now Xiao Dani getting another kill. Doxio got up to 2 stacks right there, opting to the early Lucidity boost. So some movement down onto that bot side, very likely. Whilst we've actually got no summoner spells for a brief moment of time for Crazy Goose, I don't think they're going to be able to make the most of that because that flash is literally seconds away.
Yeah, I don't think that that's going to be an angle just yet, especially considering Danny is walking right back to the mid lane, going to be able to clear this wave out. Ariandel does have the Realm Warp now, so maybe can look for a potential play. It's kind of the opposite side of the map of where you want to go. Of course, Barrack has the prio, but is pushing in. Meanwhile, Crazy Goose and Pockets have a potential opportunity, but maybe a little bit weaker.
So 6.5 minutes, the recall here for Zenigma. It means once again that we're very unlikely to see a big multi-man contest for that Herald unless they're planning on pushing like literally one more wave and then going back to base again to make a path up to that top side of the rift. Drake, obviously, not yet being taken by either side. It is an ocean to start us off, so not particularly impactful if they want to get it. But obviously, you're looking for if you're looking for that soul win condition, would be nice to take on early on. But neither of these two teams particularly have, the worst end of scaling. I really like Varus and Ari as we go later and later, particularly with Viego. And I also have to say I do like Horizon Isaiah.
Uh-oh, Ariandel, you know what happened last time. You got to be careful there. One more overload does not connect. Danny will be able to survive, not able to dodge away from some of those skill shots as we were praising him for before. But chunking out Danny pretty early on does mean that maybe Mirage can start to look at this Ocean Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty impressive, though, from Ariandel, right? He got solo killed under the turret for first blood, but is still controlling this mid lane matchup. This was also a counter pick by Xiao Dani, right? Not saying that Ari is the be-all and end-all counter, but you took the Ari into this matchup knowing that you were going to have to play this lane, and that Ariandel is controlling the mid lane, is still moving up to this top side now to help out Cocoa Puffs.
Oh yeah, here comes the Realm Warp. Ariandel is going to come in. The Guillotine is going to finish it off, and Hyphy just making sure he gets onto the board, picking up the first kill for Mirage.
Nimbus Strike secures the first kill of the game for the pretty much one of our most longest standing Northern American organizations in the amateur space at the very least. Mirage does go back a very long way. We're excusing Supernova here to make the point, but they obviously had that little spell with Dignitas as well in 2022/1. Memory doesn't serve me too well at the minute, but they've had, it was a long time that we've seen Mirage, and with their return in 2023, they don't want to go out on this 2-0, and making that play on the top side puts a good little effort into that.
Speaking of Mirage in 2021, Dragoon, also Darius player, was on that team.
Oh, true.
And so we're just kind of recycling everything once again. Dragon,
you could be the Mirage CEO.
I know everything about the team, I guess.
I
know one player.
Build,
Remember one player.
GM.
I could build the roster. I actually did the native tryouts, and I had a little segment during one of the breaks where I tried to guess the players that native was going to sign based on how they were doing in the tryouts. I got pretty close.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Scooped wasn't in the tryout, so that was not possible. But everyone else, it was pretty good angle for me.
Griefed by GM. I understand. Yeah. Don't worry.
Sometimes, if you have the opportunity to get scooped, I'm not surprised that they went that opportunity. But, just kind of griefing my being smart on
Would you have been 5 for 5 if you'd have got scooped? Or the AD carry, I guess.
I don't remember 100%, but I remember looking back. I definitely got Rhino. I think I guess Shocky as well. Fnatic at that point had not played any tryouts yet, so I wasn't able to guess him either. But it was
Uh,
messages, Shocky, and Rhino had
so
all of
you're
them.
3 for 3. You're 3
Three
for
for
3.
three, yeah. Just
That's all that matters, really.
yeah,
100% is what you say there.
yeah. I guess 100% of the roster. I guess that way.
Now let's just see natives play a 3v5.
Enigma looking for an opportunity once again. They land the depth charge on the Crazy Goose. Now pops that Feather Storm.
Oof.
And it looks like no extra crowd control will land. So that's the power of the Xayah here, Rude. Making sure that she's able to stay alive.
And guess what? We've still got cleanse, baby. We can take another
Yeah.
one and be absolutely fine. Slash have to burn a summon a spell. Depending on, of course, your definition of absolutely fine. Good little interference ran by the Mirage side as well, you have to say, with Hive and Oriandon making their way down here. I do want to quickly mention, despite the fact that Hive had such a strong start to the early game, that hasn't continued.
Yeah.
Dunks has done a very good job at getting back into the game and not just stabilizing, but actually finding a lead over the enemy jungler right now. A full, well, was a level up. Hive had to go and clear a camp and make my point irrelevant, but is ahead by the very smallest margin, and if not, is certainly stable when probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, Hive, I feel like, has been looking for plays a little bit more than Dunks, who has maybe resorted more to farming after losing his blue buff level 1. And because of that, I mean, they found one opportunity in the top side of the map, but in terms of farm, definitely Dunks has been able to get back into this game and may be able to regain some control for Zenigma here, because despite some of the shenanigans that happened earlier on, Rude, it is still a very, very even game 11 minutes in.
Yeah, I mean, it is literally equal in gold, which is very, very rare to see in a game of League of Legends. Normally there's an advantage somewhere. But both of these teams recognizing that they've still got the tools to be able to play a little bit later on. That first dragon of the game that we mentioned did end up going to Enigma. That was about 3 minutes ago now, but they are the ones that have started off that stack process. Mirage on this top side may be looking to use that Herald once again, putting Cocoa Puffs in a bit of a sticky situation. With Hive up here as well, this could very well be first brick going down.
Dunks is
Oriendel's
here,
moving as
though.
well.
It's going to be a 3v2 if Ariandel does join. I think that Mirage just wants to get the plates, get some gold into Barrack, and head on out of there. It will be 2 plates secured. Sometimes it's only 1, depending on the health of the tower, which means about 175 gold each for the top side of the map.
Yeah, Pocus was also sort of hovering around the top side should a play have happened, and Zhao Dani TP'd into the mid lane instead of up to that top side, which would have more so forced a fight. So nothing particularly untoward. Charm hits.
Oh,
The
nice flash of Ariandel. The phase rush plus the flash kind of smoothed on out of there away from the hook.
Yeah, nice little, I'll say movement, but he did have to flash, so it's not particular movement. Got hit by the charm in the first case. Danny certainly making the statement there that he's not missing these. Obviously, from game number 1, had very good accuracy, and that's continuing into game number 2. Hasn't quite got that super early mythic that we saw from the Leandris in game number 1, and there's only 300 gold up over his counterpart. And honestly, the majority of that going to come from the first blood that we saw.
So very close in terms of the map. Of course, the top side definitely has been working better for Mirage, while the bot side for Zenigma has been showing off a little bit more. But in terms of just evenness, in terms with games and stuff like with items and gold and stuff like that, in a pure 5v5, it would be close. I don't know who I exactly would favor at this point in the game.
I think we'll just have to kind of wait and see, honestly. I think both these two teams have got decent enough footholds in respective areas of the map. Obviously, both jungles completing that Divine Sunderer. But I want to look a little bit more back up towards that top side, since we mentioned that that's where the pivot of the draft really came when Beric took that game, or that round 3 Darius pick. To continue to draw more parallels from my adventures across the pond here in the NLC, the reason that Darius got picked, and what we've seen from WoW, is that they don't necessarily put a lot of stock into this Darius. Now, Mirage are doing that, but what you're waiting for when you get a big top lane advantage isn't necessarily that explosion in the 1v1, but that burst onto the Rift when the first big objective comes to bear. If it is around a dragon, for example, if it is around a Rift Herald, wherever it is, that first 5v5 is so telling, because Mirage have put a lot of stock into this top side. 4 plates went down largely off of movements from Mirage to the top side on the map. And if that doesn't pay off, they don't get that return on investment, what was the point?
We'll see if maybe that opportunity, that first objective fight could be here, but already Pawkus is burst pretty low. Xiao Danny gonna dash forward, Spirit Rush, pick up one, pick up two, teleport coming in from Coco as well, and already two members of Mirage are down. It's a double kill in for Dunks as Barrick falls as well. 4 for 0 coming out for Zenigma as they'll get the Rift Herald as their reward.
It's a 4v5. They don't bring up Crazy Goose. He's still bot lane wailing away on a turret, and that is the difference. As Enigma, they find the fight. They find this 5 versus 4 that goes so beautifully in their favor. They're not even going to lose his bot side turret, and Crazy Goose might die.
Oh, he's going to die as well. That's a
Yes,
hard
flash.
steal onto Coco Puffs. Coco, he flashes away from the Blade Caller. Makes it a 5 for 0. Unofficial ace picked up for Zenigma.
Lovely stuff from the top laner. Coco recognizes the CC, flashes out of it, and finds a solo bolo down on the bot side. Yes, there's a 3-level deficit. Yes, there's a heart steal already picked up. I don't care. Turret saved, and the Herald secured as well. Zenigma knew what their game plan was in that objective timer, and they sure made the most of it.
Absolutely. That was such an impressive fight out of Zenigma. Of course, was a 4v5, but they knew, of course, that if Barrick is able to get online, get that early kill with the guillotine, it just becomes a much harder fight for them. And so instead of focusing onto the Darius, they just try to burst out everybody else on Mirage instead. And when Barrick's in that 1v4 versus, like maybe not being focused as much, it just becomes so much harder for that champion to kind of operate in that fight.
And we highlighted it a little bit earlier on, but we need to again re-emphasize this composition for Zenigma is a reset composition. You have Ari, you have Viego, you find that first kill, likelihood is you're gonna win that fight. It's why Shen has so much priority here, because you can help a little bit get that first kill. If Viego looks like it's on the brink of death and you're towing that line incredibly finely, you give Dunks that big extra shield, likelihood is you find that kill, you get that reset, you start going again. Another ulti for the Ari. You're in a really good position. Mirage, though, caught out on the bot side.
They're still looking for an opportunity. Dunk's actually going to get bursted out. Big shutdown picked up for Barrick. Dunk's maybe just playing a little bit too aggressively. Going to get caught out for a kill.
Yeah, this time it's the numbers advantage that head the way of Mirage. And again, more stock put into Barrick. They're recognizing this Darius can do things against this team composition if given the free reign to do so. That fight on the top side earlier was a bit of a 4v1 by the time that Barrick got there. So if they can keep on stockpiling gold into him, they still feel like there's a world where he can carry a fight for them. Love to see that they're putting stock into the former UCI top laner and making sure he's good.
Brilliant. Gonna get another dredge line landed onto Pawkus. They put the depth charge in. The ignite is ticking. Pawkus will be able to survive. Nobody worried at all. Not even close.
Yeah, you see Crazy Goose standing right on top of Pawkus there, not to block any skill shots, but to actually try and proc Guardian. The issue, of course, with Guardian is that it counts as burst damage now as opposed to that slow DPS. So had the ignite been enough, Guardian wouldn't have saved Pawkus there. Nevertheless, did end up surviving and ending up getting out to safety. As we move into the 17-minute mark, 1 minute 20 before the Drake respawns. Bot lane starting to head back to base, making sure that Enthralled and Cerulean are as strong as possible for this impending fight. Now, I'm not too sure about Enthralled's build path, but I saw him in game number 1 pop off. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he knows what he's doing here, because Collector second on Varus isn't something that I've particularly seen, nor is a crit or a crit slash lethality hybrid when you go Hail of Blades.
It's that is weird. Maybe he wants to just go. He wanted to go lethality, but then saw a lot of burst and was like, I want to survive a little bit longer, so he goes for shield bow.
I don't know. We don't need to justify it. We can let him do it and see how it works. And
like,
we'll flame him later.
The shield bow is fine on its own, but added with the Hail of Blades and the Collector,
yeah,
maybe a little bit confusing. We'll see how much damage it can actually do as we get later on into this game. The dragon is spawning in 30 seconds. Hype is behind the entire Zenigma team. He's going to have to use that clone to get on out of there. Pretty big objective fight. Once again, Zenigma has controlled this Drakes throughout this series and might actually be able to turn a fight around. But instead of going for the objective, they're actually going to pop this Rift Herald mid, break open this tier 1, and force Mirage to make a decision.
Yeah, remember, it's really important for Zenigma to find that first kill. Having as much item spikes as possible is their crucial key. Mirage, though, they start up the Drake, Cocoa Puffs, and Cerulean lead the charge forward.
Another hook only going to land onto the clone. Ariandel waits in the back of the fight.
Look at the
As we
flank.
look at the flank, maybe it's potentially started here by Mirage.
But
Hype
they know.
and Barrick are looking for an opportunity, and Cerulean is just going to flash forward and try to eliminate the front line as soon as he possibly can. Everfrost
it's
comes
so
in,
messy.
does land in on the pocket, but Hyphy's now into the back line as well. Barrick has arrived to
bed.
the fight. A first kill goes the way of Mirage, and now Barrick is finding his opportunities. It's a double kill, as only the solo laners for Enigma do continue to survive. The Dragon will be secured by Mirage, as the TP out from Coco might be in wait. He will escape, but the cost is a big fight win for Mirage.
And the Colossus from the top side descends. Beric comes out, double kill in the fight. They win it. They take the Dragon, stop the stacking for Enigma, and find the fight on top of it. 3 for 1 that goes their way. Neither jungler are alive, so it's a bit of a brawl in the pit as well to make sure who gets that Dragon is in the right pocket. Mirage coming out on top. That was a crucial fight. They needed it to go their way because they were slipping behind in this game. The Herald went down mid lane. They lost so much map control. And if that fight hadn't have gone their way, it would have been all doom and gloom. But they find some solace in securing the Dragon and not losing the fight.
Suddenly a close game again, Rude. I feel like for a while we were thinking Enigma, oh, you know, they have control. They won that 5 for 0. They were up 3,000 or 4,000 gold. Gonna get soul point here. But Mirage have been able to find opportunities once again. And, you know, I don't think it's necessarily to the fault of any of the players on Enigma. I feel like Xiao Danny has, you know, once again performed phenomenally on the Ahri. Cerulean has found massive hooks to start these engages, but Mirage is just continuing to find these opportunities. Specifically, Hyphy on that Wukong just lived for so long and was such a big disruption on that flank.
Yeah, I mean, you can see now with Mirage having a little bit of an extra injection of gold, how much they recognize that not dying first is so crucial. Beric opting into the Sterak Cage. I feel like I haven't seen this item for at least a split and a half at this point. But Stopwatch as well is so much staying power in the front line, will buy so much time for his team to prevent Enigma finding that first kill. With Pocus as well, Radiant Virtue coming online, a really big spike for the Karma. It's not something that you particularly talk about, those one items for support, but it's extra important in this composition. Mirage need to stay alive for a little bit longer than their counterparts just for that first kill.
Yeah, this team is incredibly reliant on just playing fights out for a really long time, whether it's getting resets onto Barrick or, you know, allowing for the Kaisa to survive as long as possible, and everyone just continues to get healed up by this Radiant Virtue Karma. In the long run, if the fights, you know, aren't decided by some of the dive and picks that Enigma have, definitely Mirage favored at this point.
Yeah, I mean, they do have the more generic DPS carries on their side as well. Xayah and Ryze. Ryze has DPS every 2-3 seconds with his EQ combo. Xayah has one every single auto attack. So more traditional DPS coming out of their side, where the burst is a little bit more in favor of Enigma, which obviously aligns nicely with their pick-oriented and reset-oriented composition. So good. You know, I like the identities of both of these teams. The question is, you know, how is the execution going? And up until 2-3 minutes ago, it was largely going the way of Enigma, but Mirage, with the return to the amateur scene and the amateur space, making their splash as best as possible.
Now, Mr. Rooted, do you remember about 5 minutes ago we mentioned, oh, Enthralled is going Collector. That's a pretty interesting build.
I do.
Thoughts?
Well, I was wrong. Those are my thoughts. That's not a Collector. That's a Serpent's Fang, but I can see how Serpent's Fang looks good. Am I convinced?
There are 3 shield champions on
Yeah,
Mirage.
exactly. And there's a Darius, right? Like, we've got Sterax on the Darius now, so Karma's going to be shielding everyone, so Serpent's Fang value goes through the roof. I'm just not certain that Crit Varus is the champion to go it on. If he'd have built a Duskblade, I'm there. I'm all for it.
We'll see if it ends up working out. I mean, you can see right there off that last fight, Pocus has a lot of shields. Of course, the rest of the champions have an innate power as well. The Dragon not spawning for about a minute and 20 seconds, but Enigma looking to go forward. A huge flash out of Danny, finds Ariandel, but now Hype's in the middle of the enemy team. He will get bursted down first, and Dunks get the first reset of this team fight. Blast Cone out, might not be enough. Dunks has to flash forward, transformed onto the Wukong. Charm barely missing onto Barrick, as it looks like Mirage will escape. It is just 1 kill, not a ton on the map that they can get, but Rude, eyes are on the Baron. There's no jungler for Mirage.
They cannot do this. That is way too much for them to head toward this Baron right now. It's still super early.
Barrick has to be careful. They are hunting for this potential objective. I don't think they are are going to try and go for it. Instead, clear out as many of these enemy jungle camps as possible, further extend the gold lead, and maybe fight for that objective another day.
Yeah, that's the appropriate response to finding a 1 for 0 only 24 minutes into the matchup. Drake spawns in 30 seconds now. You know, that's why you were questioning why they're taking this fight so early. It's because we're probably going to get to see it again here, and
Yep.
it's likely going to be a little bit more explosive. Crazy Goose thought that he had the timing to win, to recall right there. That's why it was a 4v5, because the Mirage ADC actually went back to base. He's got the components of the Navori. If he was sitting on that for this fight, he'd be so much better off, but can't get back to base in time to end up buying that item. And now we're seeing Zenigma play this game of chicken, where they're saying, you can get that dragon, we're going for the Baron, but it's going to be slow. It's not the fastest Baron we've ever seen, and you can commit one person to a Drake as Mirage and still poke away effectively.
It looks like Mirage is not going to fall for the bluff. They're going to head straight over to the
Don't
Baron.
take that.
Ariandel comes in with a Realm Warp. They're going to just send in the Rise. And it looks like
The minion
Zenigma
bait.
got what they asked for. They got Mirage off the dragon and instead going to force another potential fight around mid. There comes the flash in from Carulian. They're going to lock up pockets. Zhao Danny going to dash forward with Spirit Rush as well. So many knockups come through, but now Hype on the other side is going to, again, just provide so much disruption. Another dredge line comes out. Stand United does land onto Carulian, but Barrack picked up the first kill, and he now has the bleed. How much damage can this Darius do? He has the Ghost going forward.
Pulls him.
Onto Enthralled, and he dunks the Varus down to the ground. Coco will fall as well. 3 kills over to Mirage, and they will be the ones headed over to the Baron.
Can't stress this enough, Grapes. It's all about that first kill. Karma keeps herself alive for so long, and Beric manages to find the kill in the end. Managed to pull back Enthralled as well, and find the fight in favor of Mirage. The Death Ball 5v5, the constant DPS, is just barely in the Mirage team's favor. And now, as you mentioned, they can head toward the Baron. They may have to sacrifice the dragon, but that's a price that they will willingly pay for 3 minutes of push supremacy.
It would be the sole point if Dunks and the rest of the Enigma are able to pick this up, but there are accelerated recall timers. The teleport does come out from Ariandel. This might not be that free dragon secured for Zenigma. Dunks going over to the Rift Scuttler first, sorry. I don't think that they actually are going to start this up on spawn.
Woo! You know what that means, Grapes? We get to do it all over again. We're going to get another 5v5, and you're going to have to try and catch the important parts of this one. I mean, the big thing here is that those second items are now finished. Crazy Goose has got that Navori Quick Blades, is now a very scary carry. Beric went to base, finished up an entire Guardian Angel.
Yeah, and already you see another fight breaking out here. Dunks has to Heartbreaker away, so no reset for the time being. Hype looking for an engage, does not want to go too far forward. But no dragon has been started up just yet. Mirage has full priority around the pit, and they will have the opportunity to secure it. But do they want to try and find something else? It looks like Danny's on the wrong side of things. Instead, going to use that teleport to maybe just get some extra damage onto the top lane tier 2. But it will be Mirage evening at this dragon count at 2. With the rest of Zenigma pushing on the top side of the map.
This has been so far so good for Zenigma, right? They don't have the Baron. They're actually up against it. But they're the ones that are taking turrets, and thus far have only lost a little bit of a HP trade in the mid lane and a dragon. You're going to be quite happy with that. There's 90 seconds left for Mirage to make the most of this Baron, and they've spent a minute and a half of that on the dragon on defending this top tier 2. Looks like Beric's going to have a bit of time down on this bot side to secure himself at least one turret back. But I'd like to see more from Mirage. The issue being is that they can't overextend too far because Crazy Goose is still all the way back in mid lane.
They still have a couple more waves of Baron up minions to try and break open some extra structures, but I do agree with you, Rude. They should maybe look to push into the base a little bit heavier than they already have. The gold is still even at this point. Which means Enigma can definitely find an opportunity. I mean, Danny's at 3 items. We see Enthralled picking up the Rage Blade now for 3 as well. So definitely not a weak team in terms of damage dealers right now. But it looks like it will just be another tower going over the mid-tier 2 falls, and Mirage will go back to base with just those objectives being taken off the Baron.
That's good. I like that. It gives them a lot more space on the map, and it does help them out when trying to set up around the dragon in particular. With both those 2 bot turrets being down, they can get a little further into these Enigma jungle and potentially take out a couple extra wards than they might have felt a little bit uncomfortable going for previously. I do think you raise a great point, though. Zhao Danny, once again, have to emphasize how well he's been playing this series. 3 items completed on the Ahri. Yes, it's like the Season 12 no damage build, right, with Morellonomicon plus Everfrost, but Morellonomicon got changed. There's a Shadow Flame in there as well, so this actually does meaningful DPS if you can find the right targets. Crazy Goose has got cleanse though. That's going to be even more difficult to get through pockets as heal, Radiant Virtue. There's a lot of survivability for Mirage.
Oh yeah, if the flash hook coming out from Cerulean only finds the clone once again. I mean, they have good lockdown, but are they even going to be able to lock down a target at this point? Stand United does come out onto Cerulean as Cocoa Puffs has joined the fight. Barrack chunked down to about half
I'm going
HP. Here
in.
comes the
Oh,
Realm Rush in.
Arundel!
Ariandel might have gone a bit too far forward. He goes golden, and now maybe has bought enough time for the rest of Mirage
Oh,
to
it's
put
good.
in the DPS. Ariandel will finish off the final kill onto Cocoa Puffs, and it looks like they will be able to continue the chase. It's a 2-for-0, no objectives on the map, but instead gonna look to push to open up the base once more.
How dare I doubt him? Ariandel with the Realm Warp in just baits Zenigma, hook, line, and sinker. Knows that he's got the stopwatch, can buy all the time in the world, and Crazy Goose is free firing that entire duration. Beric finds one, and the roots coming through from the rest of Mirage help out finding a second. That Nautilus just a little too far forward, and we've got to that point now where the Nautilus effectiveness is really starting to drop off. Yes, you find that flash hook, but it's not quite onto the correct target. Beric is able to stave off the damage in that front line, and the rest of Mirage, they come up big.
It seems like Cocoa Puffs and the rest of Enigma, or Cerulean, sorry, and the rest of Enigma, are looking to try and force fights a little bit too hard. And this goes back to the differences in draft between Game 1 and Game 2, because in Game 1, Cerulean could just hook anybody and it would be a good fight. But now, you hook instead of hooking like a level 12 Galio, you're hooking Ariandel, who is on the rise, who has, significant items, has a fully stacked rod, and is level 17. And now, and you look at the rest of the team, Barrack is a Darius. You don't want to get him close to the enemy team. And Crazy Goose has a whole lot of escapability attempts and possibilities that he didn't have on the Varus in that last matchup. So the composition for Mirage working in its favor right now. And the picks for Zenigma just not working out.
It's worth mentioning as well, there's a 2-level discrepancy between the AD carries of these sides. Crazy Goose level 15, Enthralled level 13. The base stats that go into levels, the Rooted Special here really talking about these, but it's about 500 gold per level. So that's an 1,000 gold disparity between our ADCs that you just can't see that exists in the levels at a base. So that's obviously going to be working hand in hand with the Mirage lead that they have, with the Baron spawning in 30 seconds and Hive.
I don't know if it matters how high level you are enthralled, because you might just be in a bit of trouble. The flash forward again. Barrack is dominating as the guillotine has become unlocked. The teleport in from Danny could try to find some work on the other side, but then Mirage does not care. They are unrelenting in their dive under the tier 3 turret. They will have to force a stopwatch out of Hive, but it does not matter at all. Barrack is godlike and dunks Cerulean down to the ground as a double kill comes through for Crazy Goose as well. Coco, the lone survivor, will be taken out as well, and not even Barrack will fall as he resurrects with the GA. It's a 5-for-1 as Mirage will break open the base.
Are they going to do more than break open the base here, Grapes? The death times are more than lenient. This is game number 2 going the way of Mirage.
I think that's about it. The accelerated speed out of the minions, thanks to the ultimate from Ariandel, will mean the Nexus is exposed before Enthralled is even able to respawn. GG's to Mirage as they'll even up our series and force a game 3 against Enigma.
What did I ask for in the draft, Grapes? Give a bit more control, a bit more priority over to the top side. Mirage do that time over time. They're happy to give Beric the blind pick Darius into the top side, and I don't know what the Shen was expected to do, but it really felt lackluster in that top side, right? There were no coordinated proactive plays that we love to see from Shens, and it kind of fell flat. We have to give credit over to Mirage because they really did pump out the fights in the later stages when it mattered. They reached that 2-item spike for Oriental, reached the 2-item spike for Crazy Goose, and those weren't even the pivotal members, really. Beric had got himself off to the races, and I asked how well is that top lane Colossus going to come down, and it came down like a hammer.
This is the game plan, and strategy, the execution that I wanted to see out of Mirage coming into this series. I feel like the team fighting potential and abilities of all 5 of these players is very, very strong, and they pick a team composition that allows them to do that. They survived the early game, whereas Enigma again went for more picks and just kind of ran away with it. Barrack really had an insane late game on that Darius. Ariandel as well played phenomenal. And Crazy Goose didn't die in those fights. Unlike that last time.
Crazy Goose played well as well, Grapes.
And was able to dish out considerable DPS. And it actually worked really well for Mirage. And for Enigma, they're going to have to try to find some sort of solution to break that standard composition that they are facing, probably in game
Yeah,
2 and 3.
won't be easy for either of these sides, right? Remember, this is the elimination game. This is the bottom of the losers bracket. Winner plays TFT for a chance to move on to the playoffs. But if you lose here, you do go home. It's a lot of pressure on the matchup itself and potential nerves going into a third game of this series.
Yeah. I hope that it doesn't affect as many of the players on Mirage as they are more experienced, but for Zenigma, definitely some newer faces to this team. We'll see how well they're able to put it together as it is do or die, win or go home for this game number 3. We're going to be back in a couple of few minutes with the draft. Winner plays TF. Yeah, send it to break. I messed that up. Welcome back, everybody. One final game of the day for the NACLQ GSL Day 3. Mirage versus Enigma has been actually a pretty exciting series here, Rudude, and we're going to see who moves on to play against TFT tomorrow and who's going home.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly not sure where I want to put my eggs, which basket I'm going into right
Yeah.
now. Both of these teams have impressed in their own respective wins, because they've I'll say felt one sided once you got the lead. I think that game number 2 was a little bit less down that road because Mirage went ahead for the first 10-15 minutes. It did feel like they were just going to get rolled into a 2-0. But when they won the first fight, they didn't lose any after that, so it sort of turned into their favor afterwards. I mean, I think playing to the drafts, both of these sides have done pretty much exactly that.
Yeah, and I think that, when we look at why and how Zenigma didn't end up succeeding in that game number 2, we can look a little bit to the draft at least. Barrick came up really huge at the end of the game. Coco playing Shen wasn't enough to really stifle that pick up in the top side that can scale very, very well. And then down in the bot lane, enthralled on the Varus versus previously in the last game on the Kaisa. Again, just didn't look as good. And so maybe these are opportunities where we can either really focus in and try to continue this like dive focused composition that we've been working for Enigma, or maybe scale back, play a little bit more stock standard.
Yeah, and I mean, with their sides, they're actually swapping over for this time. So it will be our first look at Blue Side Mirage for this series, and Zenigma getting their fifth pick counter. Whether that goes into the top lane support or jungle, I've seen all three so far throughout my tenure of today. So it could be quite exciting. And I think that for Mirage having the blue side this time out, it may just secure them a safe bot lane because that's really been the touching point, I feel like, of this series so far. Is Zenigma have found leads regardless. They have picked Nautilus and they have won the laning phase. Like that is the stock and standard that we can take from both parallel games.
We'll see if that continues to be the case. I think Carillion was finding good engages in that game too. It just, you know, didn't really work out in terms of how the rest of the team was able to follow up on them. And so I still think that that's probably a pretty good angle here for Zenigma. Dunks is also playing really well on these dive heavy champions throughout throughout the series. And so I would like to see them maybe stick to what has been working for them, what got them that lead in game number one, specifically Carillion on the engage reports. And then again, Zhao Danny having a pretty good game even that in that last one.
Yeah, I mean his roaming capability and just playing the Ari exceptionally. There are a lot of things that are heading off in their favor. I do think that we did stem into a lower damage build, and I think that maybe hurt them a little bit for both, not just Yaudani, but for as well the Ari. So it was certainly Yaudani's a little bit of an issue with getting the full DPS out that we may have expected from these champions. And I think they're heading into a game number three. Those types of things need to be rectified at the very least.
Definitely going to have some extra things to look at if you are Zenigma now on this red side. But if you are just joining us for the first time on the NACLQ streams here on Salty Runback, first of all, welcome. And to explain a little bit what's going on, once again, the winner of this series will be moving on to the final round of the group stage to be playing up against Team Fish Taco, while the loser has lost two best of threes at this point in the group stage. They will be eliminated. If we take a look, if you want to see more action for the rest of the NACLQs tomorrow, that will be happening with Group C and D. They will have Horizon versus Supernova on the Challengers League stream. Everything else will be either on here at Salty Runback or at twitch.tv/SmaxHide. A lot of exciting games here, Rude.
I mean, how cool is it that we actually just get to cover everything like that? I mean, everybody in Twitch chat, you need to give a big shout out to Grapes, Smacks, Alk, and Ravish because they've put in so much work, not just on the broadcast, but behind the scenes as well to make sure that everything gets seen. Like, if you want to see any of the 16 teams that have made it to GSL, you get to, and it is because of these four and the hard
Oh,
work that they're putting in. So again, emphasis on thanking them because without this platform, I won't be able to do this. You won't be able to see the games. Like, there's a lot of things that they're putting in, and it's more than just showing up to cast these games. I can assure you that.
hey, give yourself a little credit, Rude. It's what, like it was like 10 p.m. at night. You just got off producing a whole day of CB lol, and you saw that there was an opening here, and hey, well, you wanted to
Nah,
fill in, and
I'll come in. It's
that's
all
kind
good.
of
Yeah.
it's up to everybody here in this community to end up having these games streamed and have all of the success here in amateur, and we're very grateful for the opportunity to do that, and we will try our best to continue as we move forward throughout the group stage, the knockouts, everything else. But we got to turn our attention right back here to the draft route because these two teams, they might not be able to be on our streams anymore, at least for the next couple of weeks if they don't win this last matchup.
This is very true. And at least for the draft at the start off, there's going to be a lot of parallels drawn. I'm interested because with Mirage being on that blue side, there's a world where we don't see a Maokai ban, of course. They're the ones that had been or sort of baited or at least kept into needing to ban that champion. Maokai and Varus have been the two first picks of choice. A Darius ban out the
Wow.
rip. Okay, that's good. I
Respect.
like this.
That's not what I was expecting to see, but it looks like Barrack seemed to have been a problem for Mirage, and so they're banning
Hmm.
away some of his crucial champions. The Fiora also one of them. I wonder if the Gangplank gets taken away here on this third ban because you remember, Rude, that pentakill that happened in Game 5 of the Open qualifiers, and also just Barrack in general being good at this champion.
Ooh, I certainly do. A Maokai on blue side. That is a sin ban. That's one that I am
It's
not
pretty good.
allowing. Okay. Now, in fairness, if this is their open, I will allow it. I'm gonna wait because the Caitlyn ban did come through from Zenigma. This is a ban that got dropped by Mirage. Mirage were the ones previously banning the Elise as well, I
Ah,
believe.
okay.
Or at least actually no, I think this is the one that no, I'm lying to you. This is the Zenigma ban that they dropped. They dropped the Elise to take Darius off the board. So they're just recognizing from the Darius ban that they can then ban Maokai and have a strong like OP pick in the jungle.
And Elise has been performing very well in the meta. It opens up opportunities for some AD mid laners. I wouldn't be thinking of Ariandel Aurelia or something like that, but maybe Ariandel Set could
We
be a
have also
potential
seen Ariandel
opportunity.
Renekton. I remember
Renekton
that.
also, yeah. So that actually, Renekton Elise, definitely a big potential opportunity either for Barrack or for Ariandel, as we'll continue to see what the first phase of this draft ends up looking like here. An Ezreal pickup for Enthralled. Looks like Varus has kind of dropped out of popularity for the moment, as
I
neither
mean,
side wants to pick it up on this
surely
early in the
Mirage
draft.
just take the Varus here. Like, are we not trolling? I feel like we just pick Varus, we pick Karma, we just slam the bot lane, we deny as Karma on their side.
Yeah.
You're set up for a really strong bot side, and then you can go into solo lane phase however you so desire. I really like the Wukong pickup just as an answer. I think that this is the best jungler left. I think Sejuani and Elise are the two top tier picks, and that Wukong sort of fits the mold for the next phase. But again, as I've mentioned, Varus gets destroyed by Wukong, so Mirage say, oh, listen to Rudude. We don't pick that champion when the Monkey King is on the other side.
Yeah, I feel like both of these bot laners haven't had the biggest success on Varus. Maybe it was just because of the nature of the compositions. You know, Crazy Goose got targeted pretty heavily by Zhao Danny on the Ari last time around, and Curlin on the Nautilus. But maybe just opening up some other extra opportunities. And hey, that's the Renekton that you were talking about. We are going to dive level
Mm.
3. Will it be mid? Will it be top? We don't know just yet.
Yeah, I need to see if Enigma sort of take this bait right now. If they take a top laner, I expect this Renekton to pivot into the mid lane. We'll have to keep our eyes peeled as we head into this one. Ooh, they're taking it. They're taking the bait right now. Please lock it in.
They
Well, don't
will.
if you want to win. Let's find out.
It's
That
locked
may be a
in.
bit too harsh. They do
Now
lock
they,
it in, and I
yeah.
think that my stipulation was like, oh, you can't lock this in if you want to win, right? Like, Casante's still a very good champion, and I think that even if this champion happens to have been taken blind, it's good.
They also still are on red side, which means they will get an R5 no matter what. So if the Renekton does end up going mid, you will be able to create another counter pick for Zhao Danny as well.
Mhm.
So maybe not the worst just yet. We'll see how the rest of the draft unfolds. The Cassante, still a very strong champion. And again, we're looking at potential dive opportunities for Zenigma. The Cassante able to pick off one member with the All Out, as well as Wukong just being a really good dive threat. I feel like Dunk's Wukong just makes a lot of sense, just given the nature of how this player likes to play the game. Overall, I liked Enigma's draft in just like in on its own independently, and we'll see how it interacts with Mirage as we get further on into this game.
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, Zenigma can just opt into full scaling, and then they are giving the game a little bit to Mirage in the early stages. They're saying if you can't win by 20, 25 minutes or be in a position to win, we're going to outscale you. But I do not mind that style of play. I think if you're confident that you're better than your enemies, that's not a bad option to go for. And you need that mentality when going into games. But we had it hopped into that second ban phase. Its mid lane is taken away from Giordani, excuse me, and support's taken away from Pocus, ones that would pair nicely with that Zaya in the bot side.
Yep, so we're gonna try to deny Pockets a little bit. He always is known for
Oh, don't
playing
pick
engaged
Syndra.
supports, though. The Syndra, I feel like, would be
Yeah, okay.
okay into the
I'm
Renekton.
I'm tunneled right now, Grapes. I have to apologize. I am tunneled on this Renekton going mid lane and Zenigma not knowing about it. An immobile mage in the mid lane kind of doubles down on the fact that Mirage can pivot the Renekton. Now, Scatter the Weak, very good tool, I will say, at
Yeah,
stopping the slice and dice. So it actually is really good. And like I say, I'm just tunneling. I need to pivot out of that.
it's a mage that sits around, but it also has
Hmm.
opportunities to maybe fight back.
Okay, and they don't do
Um,
it. All right.
It looks like the Gambit will not be the Ariandel Renekton mid lane. It will be the Rise picked up for him. It is a very strong champion, and he performed admirably on it. Also gives Mirage a little bit of extra scaling if they were worried about Zenigma taking fully that route. So maybe makes a little bit of sense. It won't be as easy for this Renekton Elise to function now because of, Casante's pretty unmovable up in the top lane.
Yeah. The thing is that they can now pull once again Ariandel at that top side, and you generate a 3 versus 1.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. Soraka. Okay. This is huge. So this is like really throwing down the engage gauntlet for Cerulean.
They want to maybe go something that throws a little bit of wrench into Mirage's plans, though. We're hovering some interesting things right now. Some very different play styles with the two champions that we're potentially looking at. The Blitzcrank, I think, makes a lot of sense, though. It works really well into the Soraka. You pick off that one champion, and then the entire composition from Mirage potentially can go out the window.
This is very all or nothing down on the bot side for Cerulean. You either hook and then have a forced 2v2 with a fairly weak AD carry early on, or you hook, you miss, and then just get absolutely bullied by Crazy Goose and Pockets. This is, like I say, a really big challenge for the Zenigma bot lane to come out on top of. This is like a really big gauntlet going down in their bot lane. So we'll have to see, because if there's one gank that goes well for Mirage on that bot side as well, you can really punish.
It's a little bit scary. The Blitzcrank always just throws a wrench into plans. Just, like, oh, you
Hmm.
think a game's gonna go this way, and then Blitzcrank just hooks somebody and just changes the entire course of a game, of a fight. And Cerulean has been, pretty solid on these hook champions so far. It's only been the Nautilus in these first couple of matchups here. But the Blitzcrank maybe adds a little bit of an extra opportunity. Um, just a little bit different than the Nautilus. It just adds a little bit of extra spice in there.
But yeah, the Nautilus is like 1v7 potential. Blitzcrank genuinely has 1v9 capability if you get to that late game phase and you manage to pick Crazy Goose out of a lineup. Because it doesn't matter how much you Featherstorm, if that hook hits, as soon as you come back down, the likelihood is that you're going to get exploded. You will need your flash available. You will need the summoner spells, the juice to come through. But I actually really think the Soraka pick into the, or not even into the Blitzcrank, but versus this Blitzcrank is going to be fairly favorable if the Soraka doesn't get hooked. I really need to make that stipulation,
Yeah,
because
it's a
if the
big if.
Soraka gets hooked, then she's in a bit of a doomed situation, and she doesn't have the tools that the Xayah does. But with heal on her side, with the wish as well, you can actually buy a long amount of time. And with the Renekton Elise hopefully diving in to save, there are tools at each side's disposal. I'm excited for this matchup because it really will just come down to who hits their spells.
It's almost, at the end of the day, pretty reliant on that early game once again. It's for Renekton Elise for the side of Mirage, and that Blitzcrank just makes everything a little bit weird down in the bot lane for Zenigma. Can really punish this Soraka early, especially early on, pre-6, if, a hook ends up connecting and, Zenigma really can try to take over here. But not entirely sure of how that's going to function, but I think the first 10 minutes of this game are really going to set the tone of what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, we can't forget that there there is still Renekton Elise in this game.
Yeah.
That is still like be all and end all of topside control. And for Zenigma, they have gone full sponge mode and just said, "I will pick Cassante and do your worst." Because you can't CC me when I can go unstoppable. I have 4 dashes and 12 knockups at level 6. Let's see what happens. And then, on the flip side of that, they've picked the Blitzcrank in the bot lane. If they can get a push underneath the turret, you've got Dunks with potential double knockups coming through from the Cyclone. I'm a little worried about the damage from the Ezreal early on. I think that this could pivot Zenigma's plans entirely, but we've seen Zhao Danny be very liberal with his roams, more than happy to push for that mid lane and try and get down to the bot side. So there's a lot of options open and a lot of trends that we've seen in the previous games that could really play big factors in this final matchup.
Yeah, Danny has been very, very solid in the mid lane these past couple of games, regardless win or loss. Was on Ari those 2 games. Maybe a little bit
Hmm.
of a different play style, but still the same idea of trying to find picks, whether it's with the charm or the scatter the weak. Um, Roaming around the map as well is going to be crucial, especially again considering that Blitzcrank's in the bot lane, Heather and Ekton Elise. Things are going to get volatile. I think that this could be a really good game for Enthralled to take over the map, make some good roams, and really find some opportunities for his team.
I'm certainly hoping so. We have to remember that he got first blood in a atypical situation because he got first blood, but it was because Ariandel failed a dive. And even after
Yep.
that dive, Ariandel still had control over that mid lane. If that course of action continues, the overflow of mid prio is going to be so consequential this game because if either of them get first move, they're going to be faster to the dive play in the side lane.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about Rise having the pushing power even over the Ari. Feel like it's gonna do pretty well against this Syndra as well. So it's gonna be up to Danny to try and find angles. Maybe Dunks can help him out as well, just to make sure that the Syndra is able to become unlocked because it's gonna be important for the success of this Enigma composition.
It's a really tight match, and again we have to reset the stakes if people are just joining us or
Yeah.
have even just forgotten. This is your final game if you lose in the tournament group stage lower at the minute. This is the lower bracket for it. For the winners, you go off to face TFT, who again just had a full rough set for their own right. So a lot of pressure on game number 3 in a series like this.
It's gonna be a tough matchup no matter what. No matter who comes out of this, TFT very, very good. They have Dardoch on their team. They have a lot of experience throughout their roster, and I think that despite losing to Tony Top, I think that Tony Top was definitely underseeded and dropped in a game that they probably shouldn't have in the open qualifiers to be at 3-2. And the fact that they were matched up against each other in the open qualifier just speaks to the fact that some underperformances here because of the fact that Tony Top was able to take down TFT. So we have two very, very strong teams at the top of this bracket. Mirage definitely struggled against Tony Top. Enigma definitely struggled against TFT. Whether it's the rematch or maybe a new set of teams facing off in this next round, it's gonna be pretty hard. But I think we can maybe start to see some opportunities here as we head into game number 3.
I think that the important thing is that both of those teams at the top end of the bracket have shown that they can be felled, right? Neither of them
Yeah.
are the Maryville that have yet to drop a match. Your native who only lost that one game in the OQs, right? Like there's a strong pool of players across the entirety of the NACLQ. So wins are certainly there to be taken
Uh-oh.
if you can find them.
Oh, we're gonna spicy. Barrack might have walked a little bit too far forward. He has to burn the flash. You gotta expect that if there is a Blitzcrank on the enemy team, one summoner blown in the top lane might stifle this Renekton Elise a little bit as we start things off.
This is a really clever choice by Zenigma. They could have gone top lane, they could have barreled down mid lane, or they could have gone to that bot side. Instead, they burn the flash off of the top lane that is expected to get the lion's share of Mirage priority. You're expecting Hive to start on this bot side, path up toward top lane, 3 camp clear, dive on Cocoa Puffs. Now there's no flash for Beric. It means juggling that turret aggro gets 1 turret shot shorter. It gives you even less of a time to take down the super tank on the top side. And that may well be the difference between a top kingdom happening for Beric and a trade of kills 1 for 1.
And maybe we don't even see a super aggressive play to the top side of the map because you look at Barrack and the way that he's set up for this early game has teleport and Doran shield and Conqueror. If you really wanted to go hard for this, maybe a D Blade Ignite PTA setup for just that
Mm.
immediate level 3 dive top lane would have been a better solution. So maybe we're instead just looking at Barrack trying to scale things up, having maybe a slightly advantageous laning phase, but not trying anything too crazy with hype.
I think Cocoa Puffs was actually trying to pull the wave early on to make sure that the wave was crashing towards his turret very early on so that he can have that bounce back by the third set of creeps coming in. You can see at the very least trying to deny the gold or the experience from the Renekton. It didn't end up happening, I don't believe. But bot side, look at this. You can see as soon as Cerulean
Yeah.
throws the Q, we know he's throwing it because of the mana bar. Pockers can just step up and really aggressively fight with Sarkle.
That's what you were talking about. It's as soon as the Blitzcrank misses a hook, That means that Pockets and Crazy Goose can punish heavily, and you can already see the wave being pushed in pretty hard off the second, and they're looking pretty set here to try and continue to press their advantages here in the beginning of this game.
Already, though, look at the junglers. Hype on his way into
Uh-oh.
the red buff of Dunks. He's a second too late, though. Doesn't quite spot out, but is
Oh,
knowing.
we're repelling over already. The Dunks has to dash away from the Krugs. The minions are blocking a potential cocoon opportunities. Hype still has Smite. Will try to burst down this Krug camp. Will be able to do so. And it will just be the one camp steal away. But down to the bot lane, Ignites have been traded. Crazy Goose is getting hit up by a hook. And Thrall has to flash away from the Blade Caller. And it looks like Zenigma will survive.
Yeah, it's just Arcane Shift. No flash burned by Enthralled on that bot side, saving it. And top side.
Oh man, the repel over again, but Hype's gonna get stunned up, trying to find the kills, but it's not gonna happen. First blood picked up by Zenigma and Dunks. And now Barrick stuck in a 1v3 with Danny making the roam opportunity. I think that maybe Barrick will be able to run out of this. We see Ariandel looking to try and just back up his top laner, as they will be going for resets in the enemy jungle.
Oh, it's the Zhao Danny diff on that top side. Ariandel makes the first play when Hype moves over to try and find a red buff steal. But Ariandel has to go catch the next wave mid lane. That gives Zhao Danny the opportunity to roam up into the top side. And his double stun saves his jungler. Dunks was on the brink of death, but a double stun comes through and stops him from going down. First blood goes the way of the Wukong. He now gets to go back with a big injection of gold and have a strong lead in the match.
And Wukong generally struggles against Elise, especially in the early game. Maybe the passive for Wukong will stack armor upon auto attacks. Nothing about MR. AP junglers do very good into the Monkey King, but now with a kill, might be able to find another opportunity. Crazy Goose diving the other way to dodge away from the rocket grab. Enthrall's gonna Arcane Shift forward, but not gonna be able to find the kill.
A lot of damage from Enthralled, though, despite the dodge on the rocket grab. That's kind of impressive. 3 people topside, though.
They try to continue to go on to Cocoa Puffs. The
Great dodge.
Cocoon misses, so the Cassante will escape. Does have the teleport, but does mean that some extra damage will be had to the top side of the map. But again, unlocking Danny, maybe a bit of a scary thing to do.
I mean, Zenigma are in such a good position right now. So much control of Mirage has been put onto that top side, and they've got absolutely nothing for it. Nothing has gone their way.
Yeah, every opportunity kind of has just been met by opposition, whether it's Danny on the roam or Dunks making a nice play down towards the bottom lane. Cerulean still has flash, mind you, in the bottom side of the map. With Crazy Goose only sitting about 30% HP, they have to be so careful to not get picked off here. Looks like now bot lane will start to even out. It's about a 700 gold lead here for Zenigma at the 5-minute mark.
Now, of course, no barrier, no heal for these bot laners. Mirage still have their flashes, but you're going to have to use that very sparingly, right? You only get one of those every 5 minutes, and the Blitzcrank gets a hook every 20 seconds. Fortunately, they've got a brief reprieve as Enthralled gets to go back to base, pick up his tier. Remember, new Ezreals don't build, new Ezreals don't build the tier. He actually picked up the Sheen. Go for this Navori Quick Blades, Kraken Slayer, and an Essence Reaver is your substitute for the mana instead. But this is the Mirage special here this game. They've picked Renekton Elise and they want to make the most of it. Level 6 on the Renekton, so they've got a window where there's a slight advantage, but just seeing Dunks is enough to tell them that they can't go for the play.
Yeah, it's just too scary. Dunks has done a good job at making sure that he's on the right side of the map when Hype wants to go for these opportunities onto Cocoa Puffs. It does mean that, of course, maybe losing out on a little bit of CS opportunities, but hey, Hype is as well. Both junglers sitting relatively evenly, and actually it is Dunks making the first rotation down to the bot lane to pick up this dragon.
And, largely coming off the timing that the bot lane have secured for themselves. There's a bot wave that's about to crash over to their turret, but they've got an extra wave of time before they can make or need to make their way down there to catch it. So it's really smart timing from Enthralled and Cerulean to make this window happen. Good communication between both them and Dunks. And now obviously that Drake goes down, Enthralled can walk all the way in and secure this huge wave that's crashing under his turret.
Gold has equalized a little bit here, but of course with Enthralled being able to pick up those minions, might be able to swing back a bit towards Enigma's side. Haven't seen too much explosiveness. I know before in the draft, we were talking about how maybe the early game was where we could find an opportunity to set the stage for these two teams, but game 3, a lot of the line, doesn't seem like anyone wants to go too aggressive.
Crazy Goose and Ariandel are going to need to go massive this game because for Hive and Beric, their early game has been not what they'd have wanted. It's been, yeah, exactly. It's not been bad. It's just not been what they need. And like you say, I think uneventful is the perfect word because for an X and Elise, that is bad. They want to get dives, they want to secure advantages. And, the advantage they've got at the minute is a 20 CS lead in the top side. Now, whilst that's not insignificant, it's not as significant as you'd like.
Yeah, and Cassante does fine. Just gonna soak up as many minions as he can, get high enough levels, and once you have 1-2 items on this champion, can really take over a game, and will honestly be able to probably out damage Barrack in some of these later game team fights,
Yeah.
unless something goes a bit more in favor of Mirage as we continue to move forward. The Rift Herald might be an opportunity. It is the 8-minute mark. It has spawned, and we do see Barrack maybe roaming around the enemy jungle trying to find out dunks.
Might actually spot him here on this timing, but the sweeper
Ooh.
is going to do just enough. You can
Oh,
just
they're
see.
scared.
They,
The
they
ult
need to be.
the ultimate advantage is on dunks though, so not that Hive has an ulti to take away, but that level, as you said, could be huge. Enigma knows this is happening. They're going to try to collapse 3 and 4v2. The Scout of the Week does land on the Barrack. Hasn't popped the
Supports are
dominance
here.
just yet. The Blast Cone is cancelled by the hook. Get back in here, says Carulian as he sends Barrack back to the grave.
Wow, signs the death warrant with that hook, and that was beautiful. Coco Puff still chasing down Hype with the dodge on one.
Doesn't have that repel just yet. Looking to find an opportunity to escape, but it just won't happen. Danny picks up another kill. It's 3-0 in favor of Enigma. They're going to get that Rift Herald, open up the map a little bit more as they're trying to close out this game number 3.
Oh, I said it would come down to who hit their skill shots. Carulian lands one, Zhao Danny lands the other, and 2 members fall because of it. Really good execution by Enigma on that top side. They knew they bided their time, and they were ready to collapse. Yes, the red buff went the way of Mirage, but that does not matter when you lose out on 2 members in the exchange. Your release is 0-2. That snowball power player in the early game has not got off to the races, and now Enigma are really in a good position.
That Renekton Elise combo, Rude, that we were talking about, that we were hyping up in the beginning of this game in the draft, is 0 and 3 combined. And Danny has gotten off to a 3rd straight consecutive hot start. 2-0 and 1 on the Syndra, has been able to find the opportunities to counteract the pushing power of the Rise, find these angles on the map, and has helped his team because of it.
I mean, again, for not particularly having had competitive experience last split, I know was the substitute mid laner for UCI, but wasn't getting playtime in the stage games, right? Cinnamon
Yeah.
Bread was the go-to, and for a good reason as well. But Zhao Danny in these, I will say for to all intents and purposes, his most high pressure situation that we've seen him in, this is a stellar performance and a really good showcase for how strong you can be when you've got that good semblance of tutelage, that really powerful priority as well coming out from your mid lane, really forcing the issue on Ariandel in all 3 games. And as you've mentioned, Babes, making those moves on the map, which has supported dunks no end.
It's just allowed for, the top side of Enigma to really just be unaffected from some of these early invades, from the early pushing power, the CS gaps that Barrack and Hyphy have been able to generate. And, despite all of the leads that should be happening up in this top side of the map, because of Danny and because of Dunks as well, having really nice timers, Mirage is down in gold by about 1,000.
Want to highlight here that this is Gordrinker Renekton, as we have seen a little bit of a differentiation in build paths recently. Since sort of season 12 and a half, because I don't remember what halfway patches are, we saw Prowler's Claw, Blade of the Ruin King start to rise.
Oh my god, Carulian is just going aggressive as hell down in the bottom lane. Might be punished for it. One more auto from Crazy Goose, isn't able to pick it up, and Enthrall barely misses out on the Mystic Shot. That could have been a great turn for Enigma, but instead it will just be both of the bot lanes putting off a couple of summoner spells.
Yeah, barrier was there though, so there wasn't actually kill threat there. There was really good recognition of cooldowns by Mirage to make sure that they got out to safety. Oh, Pocus is dead. Wow. Okay, he's 2v1. Oh my word.
Okay, we saw a little bit. Our observer had wasn't expecting it because hey, neither were we. It's 5-0 now for Mirage. They're now officially winning on all 3 sides of the map.
Coco Puffs, I'm going to call this winning. I'll allow it, right? Zhao Danny in trouble.
Looks like he's going to get taken out. No!
Lives.
We'll be able to survive. Carulian once again comes in clutch. Hypes goes down. Dragon secured by Enigma.
Wow, and just everything falling apart for Mirage. 0-6, 2 Drakes against them. Their top lane win condition is 20 CS lead. Wow, great. But we look at the rest of the map and it is in tatters. I don't know how Enthralled pulled off that 2 versus 1. I don't need to know. All I need to know is that this game is all but over. Mirage, they need to pull a rabbit out of the hat very soon.
Oh, and it might not be in this top lane. More ultimates have been traded back and forth. The Intofas don't land in onto Barrack to get another knockout to come through. But you can now see Coco is able to hold his own up in the top side of the map. Plates are being shattered here in the bot lane, but Enthralled now has a completed Essence Reaver, and Cerulean is coming down as well. This is just not going well for Mirage, and as you said, have to find some sort of opportunity with Hive potentially as he comes down to the bottom side.
This is looking dire right now, Grapes. I mean, I'm like struggling to find how they're going to find an avenue back into this. I think that they need to opt into this crazy goose carry through the late game. Ariandel, as well, as we get later and later, can be a strong force, but they're so far away from that relevant part. And, Ryze and Xayah, even with their consistent DPS, are still going to struggle with taking down a Cassante.
Oh, maybe Cerulean gonna find another opportunity. The Gale Force already been used. Cerulean has the hook landing in on the Crazy Goose, who does not have a flash. Has the Feather Storm, but that's just gonna get a little bit of extra DPS onto Dunks. Enthralled on a killing spree.
Pocket's forced to flash and heal right there as well. Wish just coming up off cooldown. So again, really good window from Zenigma to find that angle. And it's another timing where Xiao Dani has made his way down to that bot side. Might not have been particularly pertinent in that fight, but again, the recognition, the want to be there.
It's been too good. Enigma just continuing to dominate down here. Hive hasn't found anything. Will he be able to get an opportunity here? Another hook connects.
Oh my God.
Pockets has the heals, but not going to be able to heal enough. True Shot Barrage is dodged away from, and it looks like Hive will survive.
Holy moly. And now Dunkson going in, Ariandel.
Oh no, they try to land the cocoon here, but they just can't follow up. There's no damage. There's just too much damage on the side of Enigma. Crazy Goose returning from the Death Realm, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to find anything instead. They have to be careful. Cerulean has enough mana again for a potential hook. Not going to go for it. Instead, it will just be the bot lane pushed out. It is 8-0 for Mirage. Sorry, for Enigma. They've got a perfect game roll in here, Rude.
Yeah, and they take first turret in the mid lane as well. Ariandel passed down to that bot side for the first time this game and is punished significantly for it. We are seeing the power of this new Ezreal build. One item, your command is so huge. He's feeling confident in this 1v3.
They're forcing so hard. They need something in this bot lane to try and work. Hyphy hasn't taken a camp in I don't know how long, and it doesn't look he's going to find a kill as a reward.
Essence Reaver, double long sword, no pit stop at the tier U spike so soon with this Ezreal build, and you can see doing so much damage. The first items are just starting to come through now, where we've got Enthralled, who is so much further ahead of the curve than anybody else. 1600 gold in the mid lane because of that first turret. 1200 gold in the bot lane because of all 4 kills that have gone the way of Enthralled. And this topside difference, the kingdom that they were hoping for from Beric with this Renekton Elise duo, 500 gold is all he's got to show for it.
And that's definitely not enough, especially just considering that you're probably the only lane that's winning at this point in the game. They're going to find Danny, finally, as a big shutdown comes through. It just is the trade. Hive almost goes down. Wait, the minions almost are able to
kill them.
The level up is clutch, but Hive will survive. The trade on the other end, though, is the Herald as Enigma continues to pile onto their lead.
That is a lot of gold, we do have to say, and the fact that it goes onto the Elise really doesn't sit well with me, I'm going to admit. I think you need that gold on Ariandel. The Elise's window has fully elapsed at this point, but it's gold, and that means that Hive potentially can have some renewed staying power in these games and potentially become that assassin. I think you have to go full AP and just sort of bite the bullet on that one, because even if you die in your trade, if you 1-for-1 with Enthralled or Xiao Dani, that is a massive trade up for Mirage.
It is. The question is it enough? Now that it's on the Elise, probably not. Still not even close to finishing off her first mythic item of the game. And so just will probably have to find another 1, 2, 3 opportunities in terms of getting these shutdowns into some crucial carry members that actually can carry later on.
Yeah, my guy just picked up 600 gold and still couldn't finish the mythic item.
Yeah. It's rough out
we're
here.
17 minutes in. This is devastation station right now.
You know, you say that Elise is able to function without gold, but
At least
Not
he's able to
not
cocoon without gold.
really.
That's about
Yeah.
it.
Like the early game works well, but once
Who
other
are these people
champions
that are
start to get
saying that,
items,
Graves?
no, I mean like once other like when nobody has items, like Elise is a very good champion. The base
But
game
yeah,
Elise are good, but now not as good. Now that other items have been built, even
it might
by
just be dead.
Carolean here.
Okay.
Um,
When Repel's down like that, I'm surprised Zhao Dani didn't stick around to press the outplay button. Nevertheless, that's not the case, and we've granted clemency to Hive in this instance, and now Oriental is not going to be given the same luxury.
oh, they're just feeding. They just fed it to enthralled. It was just all the damage from down Danny. 1Q for this Ezreal now makes him 5-0-0. It's looking so good for Enigma right now, and I don't think it's gonna get much better for Mirage anytime soon.
Not without an absolute miracle. They are one Drake away from losing Soul. Obviously, that Cloud Dragon just went over to Zenigma. Dunk's able to find a Cloud Soul, or Cloud Drake, excuse me. And the Cloud Soul for this team as well, just in case we were wondering. Very good for a Wukong, very good for a Cassante, because it means that you were saying Cocoa Puffs can probably out DPS Barrick in these team fights. I dare say with a Cloud Soul, Cocoa Puffs might be able to out DPS Crazy Goose as well.
And it looks like we might see that DPS in action down here in the bottom lane. Dunk's coming in with the Cyclone as well. Barrick heals a lot.
Healing.
It will be enough damage maybe to turn something, but Coco will be able to finish the job. Now Pocket's stuck in a 1v2. He has to flash over to defend himself under the turret, and it doesn't look like anybody on Zenigma is going to be, in trouble at all, as the Rift Herald will get popped out of the bottom lane.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Pox and Crazy Goose this game. Their entire game plan has been revolved around putting a lot of attention on the top side and hoping that Beric and Hive can make plays happen along with Oriental, but that's just not happening. They've kind of been fed to the wolves on this bot side. They're only 0-3 combined, which in this situation, I'm going to say isn't like the worst case that they could be it, but they've got Carolean here, they've got a TP coming, there's more action.
We are just going to keep pushing bot. The Blade Caller does a little bit to keep them away. It's only a 3,000 gold lead, 3,500 gold lead at this point, Reed. But looking at the stage of the game and the nature of the compositions, it feels so much higher than that.
That's because it is, and because things like that keep happening. Zhao Dani once again just coming up when necessary. Every single time, it's just the Syndra in the right position, and I don't know if this is planned or if this is just great luck from Zenigma, but both of the games that they've looked so strong in, the majority of the kills are just on their carries.
Did you see that?
Yeah, I did see that. I didn't want to talk about it.
Oh my god.
My Hive finished his mythic 2 minutes ago, and Pocus is like, all right, that's all you're good for. Thank you.
Yeah,
My gold now.
Oh my god. That was either like the most like passive aggressive thing of all time, or the most unfortunate thing that has ever happened on a League of Legends screen.
But on the bright side, Pocus just got the most serotonin Q that he ever will get in his life.
Best Soraka Q he might ever get.
That's true.
In terms of getting.
Now, if only those 5 minions were the Zenigma champions. Pentakill.
That seems a little less likely.
True.
It's yeah, especially considering the state of the game. It's 12-1, 4,000 gold lead. We're getting a little bit off the rails, but it's for good reason. How much
damage do you think a Soraka Q does to Cocoa Puffs right now?
It might heal him. I know Soraka's good at healing. It might be able to heal the enemy team at this point.
Yeah. Can we hover over? What's the skill order for the Soraka? This isn't like to flame Pocus. I'm genuinely just curious about my hypothetical. Let's see. Okay, 3 points Q. It probably breaks his shield.
I don't know about that. It's a big shield. Like the shield is not that small. I guess it's full armor for Coco, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take a look. Maybe you are right. Speaking of, I keep thinking there's maybe opportunities, and then that happens. Just gets denied.
Great weak side play from Zhao Dani. Recognizes that he's going to be dead if he doesn't flash that cocoon. Instead, Flashes it and lives. Doesn't have TP. 4v4 on the top side here. 4v3 even. At least
Yeah,
it's near.
Ariandel and Hype aren't there, and they already used the Realm Warp to try and get onto Danny. Instead, it's just
It
going to
gets
be a numbers
interrupted.
advantage here for the side of Zenigma. Cerulean is chunked out low, but Barrack does have the Dominus, might be able to get a kill, and it is secured on the side of Crazy Goose. Mirage have finally arrived to the fight. 5 strong. Cassante is going to send Barrack over the pit, but a huge scatter will deny Barrack a little bit of opportunities. Numbers advantage slightly in favor of Mirage, but they cannot get onto the Baron.
No, I think that's a really big win, though, for Mirage. The fact that they stop the Baron, find a kill. And it's also worth mentioning, Ariandel's TP gets cancelled there. Xiao Dani does a great job at slowing down the fight as much as possible, but the rest of the team weren't quite able to live up to their necessary potential. Good stop from Mirage. It's the great first step on a long road to recovery, and this is maybe not the play I was hoping for.
We are starting the Baron here for Mirage. Dunks
We're
is
down
here,
4K
has
gold.
The flash. Okay. Crazy Goose got chunked to half HP off the Baron. I think that's a good state of the game, just to represent what's going on in
That
this
gives
matchup. Yeah, it looked like it was a bit of a Hail Mary, and the throw went wide, maybe even intercepted by a defender, and now Zenigma heads over to pick up this Cloud Soul.
They could have used that timing on the 5v4 to stop the soul from going over and, put themselves in a 5-minute delay, right? Where they get a little bit of extra time before that soul goes down. Instead, that's not the case.
Not at all, I would say. It's Cloud Soul, as you said, works so well. Not only just in reducing the ultimate cooldowns, but also the like passive where it gets you extra movement speed off of the different abilities from the champions here.
Now, Grapes, I'm going to go out and throw something into the wind right now, and you may not be feeling this. Is your feed frozen as well?
I'm a bit frozen, yes.
Okay, that's good. It's not just me.
Oh no, I think things are happening on the screen as well. I can see the stream going live. Okay, we're back.
Oh!
The feed has been refreshed. Zenigma are starting up Baron because Hyphy somehow died. Don't know exactly how that ended up going down, but it looks like it's not going to matter all too much because Mirage is still going to try to push their way into the pit without finding any sort of success. The Baron is almost sure to go down with 3 members of Mirage sitting in the mid lane, hoping for the best in any sort of situation.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get this turret either. The collapse from Cerulean.
Oh, they're going to get it.
They're ready.
They just might not live to, survive after getting it. We'll see how much they have here. Look how much move speed that Cloud Soul is able to get over to Zenigma. They are just chasing Mirage down. Crazy Goose, not long for this world. And honestly, Barrack might not be either. There comes the all-out over the wall. We are fighting on both sides of the map, and it looks like Zenigma is winning on both of them. Coco is still so strong here, out-damaging 2 members, potentially, of the side of Mirage. And we get the Renekton release route. It's just 24 minutes too late.
Yay, so we executed. We killed the top lane. Oh no, hi-fi!
And now the rest of the team might be here again. Nice hook for Cerulean, using every last pool of his mana bar to make sure that Zenigma is getting onto that next stage. And it looks all so set and done for them. They're up 7,000 gold. They have the Baron, the Soul, everything that they could ask for here in game number 3.
If Mirage win this game, I will fly to America and let you shave my head.
Really?
That's how, yeah, 100%.
That's an expensive flight.
100%. Okay, so I just said bet. I'm there. Like, I don't know that this game is losable for us Enigma. They have so good scaling with the Ezreal and the Cassante. If Ariandel pulls out a monster 1v9, I'll let him do it as well. Let's be honest.
Man, now I'm kind of rooting for Mirage to win.
Yeah, I mean, now I'm really not. I'm going to be honest. Now I've said that.
We'll work something out. I'm sure that...
Yeah, we'll work out Zenigma winning this game. That's what we'll work out. That's what we're going to do.
To be fair, you made the bet at a pretty unlosable point for Zenigma. It's 3.5
That's what I
items
was thinking.
for all. Danny,
but now my brain's going.
Now, as soon as you lay down the hammer, now you're just waiting for a jinx to occur. And so we'll see. The gold, not as big of a gap as I might expect out of a 17-3 game. Mirage have found opportunities to maybe get some money back into their pockets, but if you just look at the champion differences, just things like this True Shot Barrage getting fired out, it doesn't seem like Zenigma is really in a position to lose this game.
I don't know, man. Soraka Rise, it goes kind of crazy later on. There's a chance.
Oh, you're reverse caster cursing it now. That's what you're doing. I
Yeah, I need to bail real quick. No, I'm still down. I think that Zenigma, they've obviously in a very good position, and the window for Mirage to take this game is so far away. The road to recovery is so very long. That light at the end of the tunnel is incredibly dim right now. I like that we've gotten all of the gold on the map, and we're starting to get our bases in as best as possible. There's a tier 2 turret down on that bot side that I might like them to take. And my biggest concern right now is we see an Elder flip, and I just really hope that that doesn't happen.
Game 5 of Mirage's open qualifiers, they were down very, very heavily, and Barrack got a pentakill on Gangplank. I don't see a pentakill for Barrack on Renekton happening here in this game, but
You never know.
I would shave my head with you if that ended up
Okay.
now we're in this together, at least sort of. You're a little bit.
Mine's a little more likely
little
than
more
yours, but I
extreme.
will agree that equally. There's less likelihood on yours, but nevertheless, Zenigma, with the remnants of this gold lead that they have, I say remnants like it's not 8,000 gold, take down this tier 2 turret without the Baron, and now they are feeling really emboldened to just control the bot side of this map. If they secure the Herald, that all but buys them the next Baron, and then that Baron can hopefully buy them breaking open the base and the game in this series. Their tickets to play Team Fish Taco in that do or die matchup for the group stage qualification.
Top 8 would be on the line. Of course, a victory here is important regardless of, the result that you have against Team Fish Taco, because of the qualification points that could get you into the promotion relegation tournament at the end of the split. I don't know the exact math and numbers, but I do know that finishing in that elimination round is better than getting O2'd. And so that is what both these teams are at least hoping for, even if they are not as confident against Team Fish Taco.
Winning is good. And that's pretty much what we need to remember. Bases, resets, TPs back out onto the map. Zenigma with 20 seconds on this Elder Drake are ready to take this fight. They've got the Cloud Soul. They have hit 3 items on Xiao Danny. He's got that Rabadon's boosted. We've got a Cyrilda's Grudge in comparison, or in tandem with the 2 items. Spike Dunks.
Big 2-man knock up here onto Pockets and Hyphy. Not going to be able to take out Soraka until one more crushing blow. Enthralled in onto Crazy Goose. It's a 1v1 within the bottom laners. And National Desires coming out on top just a little bit. One last Q is a big shutdown in, and Cerulean makes the next target as well. Crazy Goose is going crazy loose in this fight. Not able to finish off the kill onto Cerulean, and might be in a bit of trouble now with 4 members of Enigma chasing him down. It was maybe looking good. Another blade caller comes through. The Navori Quick Blades are doing its work on patch 13.1b. Finally, will not be taking out one more kill onto the Blitzcrank, and Crazy Goose somehow pulls off a miracle and makes it a 3-for-3.
Yeah, I mean, saves the game. That Elder's not going down with Xiao Danny and Dunks, the only 2 members alive. Beric and Ariandel can come to this fight. Pox is also back alive. He died so quickly off the rip, and being level 12 support, he's not got the death timer that you might expect. Ariandel 1v2. Can the team get there in time?
Forward, yeah. Danny's chunked to have a half HP. Beric is here. It has not the dominance just yet, but he goes golden. It's a 2v2, and now the Scatter of the Week comes out. Danny not going to be able to get that final kill, but finally Ariandel does go down. Beric looking in for dunks, and the Scatter of the Week comes out. The outplay button is there, and Danny makes it a 5-for-3 in the long scheme of things. But the death timers are being expired. Hype and Pockets are here. This Elder is not going down just yet, and Dunks might be able to be caught out actually.
Okay.
Wow.
Dude.
This is you made the bet, and this game
maybe
got a little bit interesting.
But fortunately, those 2 deaths were so delayed that there's no solo laner to get here. If Crazy Goose does this again, incredible behavior from the AD carry right here. Hook goes wide. There's still a world. Hypha's got... He's not on vision at the minute. Okay, they see him. Okay.
4 level lead for the Wukong, but Smite does the same amount of damage regardless. Here comes the Cyclone. They need to make sure that Mirage goes down before the objective becomes flippable at this point. Hyph does go down, and it will be the Elder Dragon finally going the way of Zenigma.
My hair is safe. Zenigma. They secure the Elder. This should secure them the Baron. With no jungler on the board as well, it's not likely that we see Mirage attempt to contest. Especially when they're up against the Elder. If there's any form of fight that is to be found, it will decidedly go the way of the red side. Now is when we see stalling tactics come into play, Grapes. How good are Mirage at clearing waves? Hui vey, before the Baron hits.
I don't know. I'm trying to think. They're gonna let Dunk solo this one out. Level
Yeah, that was a
18
solo.
now onto the jungle mid duo here for Zenigma. And it's looking pretty hard for Mirage to try and defend. Crazy Goose has to play so safe here, does not have that flash. And Cerulean again can just turn everything on its head with one single rocket grab. Top lane inhibitor turret goes down. They're looking to try and chunk out Crazy Goose already. The hook gets dodged away from, but they already do proc the ultimate. It's going to be so hard for Mirage to find a way back into this fight here, Rude.
I mean, you just win the game with Baron and Elder. Like, these two buffs are so insane, you cannot lose a fight.
Another hook does go wide. Nexus Turret now under fire. The root does connect. Ariandel looking for something, but the burns are ticking. Things get very dangerous if the health bars get low. Scout of the Week sends Crazy Goose potentially back to base to heal back up as another inhibitor goes down in the mid lanes. Enigma are playing this slow and steady, and hopefully will be rewarded here with this victory in game number 3. Here comes the scatter. That might be enough here to seal the game. Ariandel going to get taken down. The damage is good on the other side, though, as Hype goes golden. Barrack in the middle of the enemy team, but won't be able to find a thing. And we thought that they might have had a chance here on the blue side, but it was just a mirage. A triple kill in for Dunks. The Nexus goes down, and Zenigma will have a rematch against PSG next week.
Whew, they fought long and hard. Mirage go down 2-1. And somehow, even though they were down the soul and down the Baron, like they still found a fight in the end. The fighting power from this Mirage squad was absolutely incredible. But all kudos to Zenigma. They came into the CQs as 21st seed, and now they're in top 12.
It's a pretty big jump in terms of rankings. You know, we're looking at the other teams outside of the top 16. CB Gaming still have an opportunity tomorrow, but Conviction's already been knocked out. So this is now the lowest seeded team that has entered that next stage, and they have just continued to impress throughout some of their showings, both in the open qualifiers and here again today against Mirage.
I mean, incredible. And like the part of me is still relieved, right? I get to not have to spend a ton of
It's
money
fair.
on tickets to America, but I'm chilling. The Zenigma roster right there, certainly putting up a fight that was worthy of this 12th spot that they've earned for themselves. I really want to, again, we have to, I have to shout out Cerulean because the hook plays from the entire duration of the series were always on point. Zhao Dani had a tremendous performance from the mid lane, and I think that overall the entire team really just lined up with what they needed to, and the cohesion really seems to be there. I don't obviously know how long they've been playing as a full 5-man unit, but it felt like a team that was well practiced, well rehearsed, and knew what they needed to do to get the job done.
Yeah, they had a lot of things click for them at the right time. I think all the players, regardless of whether they've been known in the scene or not, have really shown up. Danny was also a player that performed really, really well in all 3 games, whether it was on the Ari or the Syndra. And, him and Cerulean were not the 2 players that we were thinking about when we saw this Zenigma roster. It was probably the top side of the map, and they did perform well, but it's these other players stepping up that makes them such a threat. And Team Fish Taco is going to be a difficult challenge after they got upset against Tony Top, but it's going to be maybe a new revitalized team for Enigma to try and face up against.
Yeah, I mean, like the saying goes, and the adage is for a reason: to be the best, you've got to beat the best, right? So, if you want to stand out, prove yourself, you're going to have to beat some tough opponents. And Enigma started off here with a good start against Mirage. I do think they were tough opponents, and they, certainly had had a battle for this 2-1 series. Obviously, Team Fish Taco going to be a lot different a beast. Expecting it to be another close knit battle, but I'm excited to see what happens with them.
We'll have all that action next Saturday as we wrap up the GSL group stage then. But tomorrow, there is still more NACLQ action to be had on your screens. Again, Horizon Gaming versus Supernova will be on the Challenger League stream tomorrow, and all the other matches will be covered across both this channel and twitch.tv/MaxHyde. I believe we have the ISU versus Lit Esports game on here. Hawk and I will be here on the call. It's going to be a good time. And overall, just another really exciting day of the NACLQ. Rude, we had a couple of delays here and there, but we're ending
Hmm.
off on a good note here. Nice series played out as Enigma.
Indeed. And we actually didn't get too many tech delays. We pretty much rolled right through. So kudos. Thank you to Zenigma and Mirage for having working PCs and internet.
Thank you to them. Thank you to you, Rude, for joining us last minute. KTAD behind the dish on production, just doing everything to make us look good on the screen. And everybody else who's helped out covering these NACL qualifiers. We'll be back tomorrow once again here on Salty Runback, Smacks Hide, and Challengers League to round out this second round of the group stage. We'll see you then.